Welcome, everyone, to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there's no shame to his game because he's always the same.
That's me.
Grump, what do we got going on? We have matching dark green shirts on today. What the hell is this about?
I don't know. You want to be more like me. I don't blame you. I think it's very understandable, to be honest.
For those of you who are new to the show, new to the live stream, new to the podcast, we welcome you here with open arms. This is an all Islanders podcast that takes place usually every single Saturday. A few pieces of housekeeping that I'll mention, right? If you like the content that we produce, the best way to support the channel is number one, by subscribing on YouTube. So anytime we go live, you get the little bing notification bell that we've gone live, and also by hitting the thumbs up button. If you hit the thumbs up button, and if you like the content, it lets myself, the grumpy old man, and Senex, know that you like the content that we produce. You find it fun, you find it enjoyable, however you look at it. And also it helps juice the algorithm. It helps get this live stream, the podcast, out to the masses. One more piece of housekeeping, at least regarding the Islanders show here. We are not going live this Saturday. My farewell show will be Sunday evening on that. So Sunday evening will be my last podcast, my last live stream here. It'll be happy trails to TJ. Bye-bye. And what we're going to plan on doing is we'll have something prepped up. So we'll look back on yesteryear, and we'll do a call-in segment on that, and we'll just have a good time. So my last show will be Sunday evening instead of Saturday, usually. And then once I'm gone, it will go back to Saturdays per usual.
Probably not going to be Saturdays.
Okay, this is news to me. So I guess Grumpy will tell me what him and X and a consortment of the Islanders Never Say Die crew, what day they'll be going live. So, but yes, get us to this next time, Grumpy. But Sunday will be my last show. Happy Trails Sunday evening. Again, around that 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start time. We'll have a call-in show. We'll look back on yesteryear, and we will have a good time. There's been some happening in the Islanders land, Grumpy. The Islanders and Mathieu Darche has made his first hire since being named GM of the New York Islanders. Mathieu Darche and the New York Islanders have hired Ryan Bowness to be an assistant general manager here, associated with the Islanders, perhaps also associated with the Bridgeport Islanders. That's still yet to be determined. At this point, he's going to be the director of hockey operations. He separated his relationships with Ottawa, and we'll talk about that.
They fired him, right? They shit canned him, right?
I'm not sure. It definitely looks. I would say that probably something like that happened. They made a change in personnel, and they didn't mention that he separated mutually or that he was leaving or that they fired him. They didn't mention anything. They just said he's no longer with them and they're taking a different direction. And they hired somebody else to take over as a new assistant general manager and then to take over their AHL affiliate, which was his job.
Stefan Rosser said he is not
you
taking over.
listen. You didn't listen to what I said. The Ottawa Senators went on. They hired somebody new. They hired a new assistant general manager, and they hired somebody new to go ahead and take on the AHL affiliate for the Ottawa Senators, which was Ryan Bonus's job.
Okay. And this was, so he got a promotion 1 year earlier, and he's out the door the next year. You know what that tells me? Fired. Who gets a promotion and then gone within a year? Somebody's not that he didn't do the job well enough.
Well, I'll say this. I'm not too sure. Like we don't. I'm not even going to pretend, and nobody else should pretend.
I can. I'm going to pretend that.
I'm not going to pretend like I know the inner workings as to what's going on a detailed level with the Ottawa Senators and their personnel decisions and their director spots. I don't have a clue about that. I didn't even think of Ryan Bonus as a potential assistant GM for us. That was not even in my lexicon of thought until it was announced. So definitely out of left field.
From a business point of view, if you're promoted and are gone within a year, you've been fired.
Probably.
Okay. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know the inner workings. I'm just saying, as just looking at it from a business perspective, you get a promotion 1 year. It's not like anybody else changed. The GM is still the same guy. Staios is still the GM. So it's not like they just came in and cleaned house like most GMs do. They come in and they clean house. Not the New York Islanders. They bring a guy in. We just keep everybody from a failed organizational perspective. But, you promote a guy 1 year and less than a year later, he's gone. Well, that's a problem.
Yep. Bonus joins the Islanders after 3 seasons in Ottawa's front office, originally hired by former Ottawa Senators GM Pierre Dorion in 2022. The up-and-coming young executive serves as an assistant GM for 2 seasons before being promoted to the associate general manager in 2024-2025, and the 41-year-old was also the GM of the AHL Belleville Senators. So, yeah, he was promoted to the associate GM and then over the AHL affiliate for the Senators, and then is no longer with the team. So that he was about a month. He was, I think they separated, I think sometime in May, and he found his feet, found a spot pretty quick back with the Islanders, back on his feet with the New York Islanders now.
But I think it's safe to say, people are saying, well, we're waiting till June 30th or July 1st. They're going to bring in that guy from Tampa to take a role like that. Well, it sounds like that's not going to happen now, right? That's fair to say.
I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I'm not even going to pretend like I have a very robust knowledge of Ryan Bonus and everything. All I can do is just look and read about what he's done in the past. I'm not going to have a clue about him. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm not trying to poo-poo on him because at least they've done something, the minimal that they could possibly do. But I guess we're not getting the guy from Tampa Bay. I think that's safe to say. If you're bringing in Ryan Bonus, by the way, who's Rick Bonus's son, another Nepo baby hire. So if you're bringing him in, you're not going to bring somebody else in for a similar role. You're just not going to.
Yeah, and I'm just not sure what now he's going to be. He's assistant GM and director of hockey operations. And again, like as we discussed, I had a misconceived notion as to what that role actually was. That's the guy who essentially is nuts and bolts, where it's like, hey, we traded from a guy who is a Canadian citizen who's playing in Canada, and now all of a sudden he's going to be playing for the Islanders. Okay, I need to get his visa updated. I need to be able to make sure that he can work here in the United States to have a job with the New York Islanders. I'm handling the nuts and bolts. That's kind of what that role entails. So I'm not sure if he's going to be also handling at any point something in the AHL, but he did have that role starting last year for the Belleville Senators. The Senators, they did make the playoffs last year, but I they were kind of nondescript. I'll put it like this. Anything is better than Chris Lamoriello continuing to run the AHL affiliate. So if Ryan Bonus starts to get involved in the AHL, it's a step in the right direction. But hell, anywhere from Chris Lamoriello is a step in the right direction, in my opinion.
Okay, so better than nothing would be what we'd say. The Islanders moves. New York Islanders, better than nothing. I guess that's what we could probably label this podcast, right? New York Islanders.
Something's better than
this
nothing.
Move is better than nothing. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think this move is better than nothing.
I guess we're just going to lower our expectations going forward. I think that's safe. Just lower your expectations, people.
Well,
don't expect to be overwhelmed by anything that happens this offseason.
I don't think we're doing anything this offseason. I've mentioned that, and I'll continue to say that over the last, this show and maybe some Sunday. I don't think we're doing anything this offseason that is major. I think what we're going to see is we're going to have to move a defenseman just because of the amount of defensemen that we have on the roster. I think maybe we move a forward. I don't know. That we're going to have to make some moves just with the amount of players that we have. And it's just like, what's our stance on a guy like Tony DeAngelo? Do we want to bring a guy like that back? What is our stance on the players that we want to have maybe going forward? I think they're going to use this hopefully as an evaluation time period until the trade deadline. And at the deadline, Mathieu Darche in the most ideal scenario will say, okay, player 1, 2, and 3 is part of our future. 4, 5, and 6 is not. I'm going to work on trading player 4, 5, and 6 and getting draft capital back. That is the ideal scenario for Mathieu Darche and the Islanders going forward.
I 100% agree with you on that. I know you're hearing rumblings now. Oh, JG Pajot could be. This is the nonsense I heard today. You hear it. People just throwing shit up against the wall, hoping something sticks. Oh, JG Pajot and the number 7 draft pick could be, in the mix for that. Okay. You're not getting the number 7 draft pick in this draft for JG Pajot. And if you want to make it a bigger deal, who else? And this is with Boston, by the way, it's a trade with Boston. What would Boston want? What do we have that Boston would want? Right shot defenseman, right? Okay. So I guess Noah Dobson must be going the other way. Or Simon Holmstrom, or who knows what. Those are 2 guys I'm not moving. I don't know why. I know a lot of fans say, oh, move Noah Dobson. It's just so dumb that I try not to even address it for the most part. But why would you move a 25-year-old top line defenseman, top pairing defenseman for a shot at, James Hagens? Because that's what the whole thing's about. And all you ever hear about James Hagens, well, oh boy, he wants to play for the Islanders. That's why we should draft him. And I can't even comprehend that type of logic. I cannot. It's just something that only morons say that. Sorry. And anybody who espouses that, not calling you a moron, even though I guess I am roundaboutly calling you a moron. I'm not drafting somebody because he's a fan of my team. It's just the dumbest thing possible. I can't think of anything more dumb. And you look at now all these mock drafts, and these guys have their ears to the track. Now James Hagens is like going 8th. He's going 8th now in almost every draft. 8th.
Okay, I put it like this. If the guy drops down to 8th, I'd be willing to trade in to try to acquire him. I would. I would be willing to say, see you later, Romanov. Again, as I mentioned, right, people are going to say, TJ, you hate Romanov. You think he doesn't have a lot of value. I don't think Romanov is that good of a defenseman. I think he hammers people to the boards. He takes himself out of position often. And I think, positionally, he's just unsound. Now, I will say, around the league, I think Romanov still has value. He's still a young defender. And I think that teams could say, this is a guy that we can have as a top 4 defenseman for us going forward. That's somebody to where he's a defensive defenseman, so he's not going to get paid all that much money because he doesn't provide any sort of offense, and we can have long-term certainty with him, in the top 4 position. He's not a guy who I gush over. I don't think he's that great of a defenseman, but I think he has value. I think for a lot of teams that are looking maybe in that middle tier spot where it's like, we've had a lot of draft picks that we've been selecting. It's time for us to start competing. A guy like Romanov immediately makes the team better.
I just don't think Romanov has that level of appeal. Maybe he does. As everyone who listens to this show, I don't like him at all. I think he's terrible defensively. I don't like him. You can move on from him, and it's not going to hurt my feelings at all. He's eminently replaceable. If you draft Matthew Schaefer, you absolutely do not need Alexander Romanov. It's just that plain and simple. And
you don't need a Romanov or a Pelech. Sorry, one of the two you don't need. Go ahead, though.
For me, this regular season year means nothing to me. I do not care. It's all about gearing up for next year's draft. I'm not saying I'm throwing in the towel. The team shouldn't try. I'm putting all of my chips, moving all of my pieces for next year's draft. That's what I'm doing. I'm not jumping in this year's draft. I'm just not. I'm looking at next year. The more I review James Hagens, the less and less I like him. If everyone's opinion is, well, James Hagens, right, bring Hagens home, whatever horse shit you see on bumper stickers up in New York, and he's openly saying he wants to play for the Islanders. I'm sorry. I'm not giving up assets. I'm certainly not trading Colorado's first-round pick next year for James Hagens. I'm not trading Noah Dobson. I'm not trading Simon Holmstrom. Those are guys I'm not moving. I'm not moving them for James Hagens. I'm just not.
Simon Holmstrom I can be convinced on. I'm not moving Dobson.
Okay.
Depending on what else had to go with it. I think Simon Holmstrom is a really solid middle six guy, probably on a really good team, right? Like on a Florida or a team that's a top-tier team, like a Vegas. He's sitting on the third line. On a bad team or a rebuilding team or a team that's in the middle of the road, maybe he could squeak up onto the second line. But he's a middle six guy is where he kind of lies at this point.
Okay. On Florida, he's a fourth line guy. He's not a third
Probably.
If he even gets in the lineup, he's a fourth line guy. You're okay, yeah. But Florida, let's just forget Florida, right? Florida's easily the best team in the league right now. Easily the best team in the league.
Right after Edmonton.
Yeah, sure. Edmonton knew that. As a matter of fact, I thought Edmonton was better last year than this year. I think this year they knew they just could not. They could not keep up with Florida. Could not.
If you look at the off seasons, the trades they made of players like McLeod and guys like that were playing bottom six roles, they went to other teams and they in a top six role had amazing production. You look at it now with 2020 being hindsight being 2020, you say, oh wow, those trades that I thought were allowing them to maybe kind of push towards the next cup actually probably hindered their ability to win a Stanley Cup. If they kept things the exact same, they could have won or maybe been much more competitive.
There were the two moves. I'm not even talking about the guys who went to St. Louis that they lost as RFAs. I'm not even talking about them. And those wound up being players who were really good for St. Louis, who just were not provided the time to develop in Edmonton. But I understood why they went after Jeff Skinner and Victor Arvidsson. I thought going into the season, I thought those were good moves for them. They turned out to be, you just learned something about those guys. The problem with Edmonton is they're a two-player team. Period. End of sentence, end of story. They are a two-player team. And those two players, you got the best player in hockey right now in Connor McDavid, and you got Leon Draisaitl is what? 4?
Top
3?
5.
Certainly top 5, right? Kucherov's up there, McKinnon's up there, Draisaitl. So top 4. I'll say top 4. I mean, and those guys can take you so far, but what you found out is the depth on Florida and their playing style. They're just second to none right now. They're going to be tough to beat next year too. There's going to be change. And look at the moves Florida made in season. You bring in Seth Jones. I've been critical of Seth Jones. Absolutely been critical of Seth Jones. And I don't think he was great, but man, he logs a lot of ice time. And he was not a total disaster back there defensively. He freed up Aaron Ekblad to be more of a defensive shutdown guy in the playoffs, where I thought was great. And the number one pickup, and maybe the greatest, even better than Butch Goring, trade deadline pickup was Brad Marchand this year. I thought that was a phenomenal pickup for them. And without him, I don't think they win the cup, because I don't think they get past Toronto, and they probably don't win game 2 in this series.
There's definitely on this year's team. And like, again, Marchand, first ballot Hall of Famer, Marchand. And you look at him, he's a rat. You hate to play against him. You'd love to have a guy like that on your team. But after what we saw, he already had an extremely impressive body of work in Boston. And then what he did in the regular season and even the postseason this year for Florida, it makes him a lock as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like Bobrovsky, he's a lock as a first ballot Hall of Famer. You win 2 Stanley Cups, you have a few Vezinas to your name, you're a lock as a first ballot Hall of Famer, and rightfully so. Like that team, like Barkov, right? When you win that second cup, they've been to 3 cups, right, in a row, but when you win that second cup, it starts to elevate some guys that may have been tweeners to where it's like a guy like Barkov could make the Hall of Fame when all is said and done.
Could
Maybe not
make the
first
Hall.
ballot.
Alexander Barkov will make the Hall of Fame.
He's got to play some more. He can't go out there and say, I snapped my ankle in half and I'm never playing hockey again and make the Hall of Fame. He's still got some minutes to log.
Okay. He's this era's Brian Trottier. The best two-way. He is the best two-way center in the game, period. End of sentence, bar none. He absolutely is. He shut down.
When Patrice Bergeron was playing, he was second fiddle to Patrice Bergeron. Go ahead, though.
Okay, Patrice Bergeron isn't playing now. So Patrice Bergeron's making the Hall of Fame. This kid is the #1 shutdown center in the league. And he's the #1 line on them. Connor McDavid was invisible in this series. Invisible. One goal. He shut him down. That line just shut him out. He scored a goal when they were down, 4-0, 3-0, whatever it was in Game 5. They shut him down. Florida is so much a better team than Edmonton. Edmonton had the 2 best players in the finals, but between 3 and 20 were all Florida players. Florida just better, so much better than Edmonton. They're the best team in the league. I don't even think it's close for second, honestly. They're just that good. Now, they have issues going into the offseason. Sam Bennett, UFA. I think he stays. I think Ekblad has a chance of staying. People are going to throw money in, but I think those 2 guys stay. Brad Marchand made himself a shitload of money. I mean, they're talking about $8.5 million a year over 3 years for Brad Marchand. I think he goes to Toronto. He could be Toronto's Matt Tkachuk from a number of years ago. That's the type of player that Toronto needs. Now, at 37 years old, 3 years and $8.5 million, man, that's a big amount of cash to swallow. But I can see that happening. Bill Zito's a great general manager for Florida.
He's done a really good job as GM.
I just want to go back to the Hall of Fame thing. How many guys do you think got elevated where, they're making the Hall of Fame after this particular 3 years in the Stanley Cup Finals, 2 championship runs? We mentioned Bobrovsky, Barkov for certain. I think Aaron Ekblad is right in that conversation now.
No shot.
I do. I think he is. And then I think Paul Maurice, automatic Hall of Famer. And I remember you were really hard on Paul Maurice. I don't think I was as bad, but I know you were tough on him when he left Edmonton.
No, he left Montreal.
No, was that? I'm sorry, Winnipeg. When he left
Winnipeg. My apologies.
And I don't know what my opinion was at the time, but I mean, I know he left he didn't think they could win or whatever. He'd been there a long time.
He quit on the team midway through the year. Quitter.
That's right. But all right, I don't care what you say about him. He's absolutely getting in the Hall of Fame. With 2 Stanley Cup wins, he's almost got 1,000 career wins. He's making the Hall of Fame, period. He's only 53 years old. I mean, he could coach another 10 years, another 12 years. I mean,
Paul Maurice is 58 years old, right?
Okay. 50, yeah, I don't know. I thought he was 53.
50.
Okay. He could coach another, 7 years, bring him to 65. He's going to have well over 1,000 wins. He's making the Hall of Fame. No doubt about it. You win 2 consecutive.
I think he'll make the Hall of Fame, but the question I ask is Burnett, right? Who was a first-time, wasn't a first-time head coach this year. He had a second stint of being a head coach in Nashville this last year. Nashville made the playoffs the year prior. He takes over that Nashville's team. And again, Barry Trotz started meddling in the pie, putting his fingers all in the pie, trying to make the team a contender as long as they could. And they went from a team that made the playoffs to bottom 5, absolute woeful hockey. Now, it's worth mentioning, Burnett, when he took over for Quenneville, led that same Florida team to a President's Cup. or President's Trophy. My apologies. They got kicked out, or they got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs, I'll add. But I'm like, I just think that team is really stout. It's really strong. And the thing about Bobrovsky, when Bobrovsky plays the way he should, and when he plays his style, he was the best goalie in it's the semifinal rounds. He was the best goalie probably in the quarters. He gets locked in when it comes to the playoffs, and for his age to be as locked in as he is, it's phenomenal. They've got an elite goalie who comes up and makes huge saves and saves the team in important moments. He just does.
Okay.
He'll make the Hall of Fame. Paul Maurice will make the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I don't
That's all I
doubt
want to hear
that.
you say.
I think deserving of it. My opinion is, I don't know.
You could say whatever you want about Andrew Burnett, but he lost in the second round, and Paul Maurice has been there 3 years, and they've been to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row. And proof's in the pudding. And they won twice. And did they look? I mean, they're still a relatively young team for the most part. Guys are all in their prime. I mean, just look at the ages. I mean, they could. They're not going to win 4 in a row, but I could see them getting back next year for certain. You know, injuries is a whole nother thing.
That's a really early prediction, Grump.
Yeah,
that's
I don't
way
care.
too early prediction.
All right, well, here's the thing. You might as well start making your predictions now. It's your next to last show. You might as well make your predictions for the next decade. You might as well do that.
Yeah, well, I don't think Florida makes it back.
Okay.
You love Aaron Ekblad. You love a guy.
I think Aaron Ekblad is really, really good with what he does. Really, really good. He was part of that shutdown crew against McDavid. They shut him out. You looked at that bench the last few games, they were defeated. They knew they weren't winning. It's tough. I
think Florida out-physicaled them early too.
But hey, welcome to the NHL. Welcome to the NHL. Here's the thing. In the games that they lost in blowout fashion, Edmonton was starting shit going after Florida players. You didn't see Florida players doing that to Edmonton. They didn't have to. They were in their heads. They were in their heads all series long. I thought Florida learned what they had to do to win last year when they got pushed to 7. They took the 3-0 lead over Edmonton in last year's final, and they kind of let their foot off the gas. Every time they let the foot off the gas, you let Edmonton back in, because they do have the two of the top 4 players on the planet, and one guy who's just the best. I mean, you can't let those guys in. Los Angeles did it this year. Los Angeles was up 2-0 and had a 2-goal lead in game 3 and wound up blowing it. They also had a goal lead in the third period in the 4th game and wound up blowing that. I mean, you got to have that killer instinct. I just think Edmonton's a 2-player team. That's the thing.
Edmonton has the choke gene in them. And when I say that, I mean things like, for example, when Edmonton was down 3 goals, they stormed all the way back. They took a 4-3 lead. They give a goal up with like 20 seconds left remaining in the game because a goalie is sliding around about 1,000,000 miles outside the net. I'm like, guys, you've got to be 100% focused. You've got a minute left. Again, it didn't affect the outcome of that game. I just think they have a little bit of a choke gene in them.
Every time Edmonton turned the puck over,
it's in the back of the net.
It turned into and here's the thing. It's not necessarily the goaltender's fault. I'm not saying their goaltending was great. Who cost themselves the most amount of money in the Stanley Cup Finals? I think it's undeniable. It's Evan Bouchard.
Yeah.
I look
Bouchard's still getting a $10 million contract. So.
Okay. I'm looking at Bouchard. Noah Dobson is way better than Evan Bouchard. He doesn't have the shot Bouchard has, but he's just as good, just as creative offensively, and he's infinitely better defensively. Anyone who says that Noah Dobson plays no defense, look at Bouchard. Every puck that came to him was like a hand grenade with the pins pulled out. That's how bad he was yesterday. He was single-handedly responsible for 2 of those goals. He just could not handle a puck. Ekholm was a disaster. That's all on the GM. I 100% agree with you. They need defense still. They put their eggs in the Darnell Nurse basket, and all these other guys that they have. I'm sorry, they're just not good enough. Trent Frederick, 4th line Trent Frederick, just signed an 8-year extension today with Edmonton between $3.8 and $4 million a year. Think about that. What does it tell you about the market? What the market's doing with the cap going up? Should tell you something.
A lot of money to go around.
If a fourth liner's getting, $4 million a year for 8 years, I'm sorry. If the Islanders did that, I'd be ripping them to shreds. I'm doing the same thing to Edmonton. It's dumb. It's dumb. Trent Frederick does not make a difference on that team. You certainly did not.
It is worth mentioning when he played for Boston, he played 57 games for Boston. He averaged 13 minutes and 50 seconds a night. I know he was only playing like 7 to 8 minutes a night in Edmonton, but he was playing like third line minutes in Boston earlier this year.
He's a fourth liner going to be making $4 million a year for 8 years. That's Pierre Engvall on freaking steroids. It's the same deal. It's the same horrible deal. It's inconceivable to me. You want to know why Edmonton's not winning a cup? Because they make moves like the Trent Frederick deal.
They don't have a goalie either, and they don't have guys. They have nobody. Yeah, they have offensive defensemen, but they don't have anybody who's a solid defensive defenseman. Not a guy. And it's like your forwards, right? It's not even like you have defensively responsible forwards or a few of them to offset. It's like all gas, no breaks. It's the reason why they can come back from down 3 goals, but it's also the reason why they give up goals and they look like they collapse in important moments is because all gas, no breaks.
That whole team was out of gas. It seemed like the whole team was out of gas the whole series. And, but they came from behind, I think, 8 times in the playoffs. That takes a lot out of you. And I mentioned to you after game 1 or game 2, I said, this coach, they're going to have nothing left at the end of the series because he's playing Draisaitl and McDavid and Nurse. He's playing them 30-plus minutes a night. You're going to get worn out by the end of the series. And even with all the extra off days built in, I remember where you had to play games sometimes back-to-back nights in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And certainly every other day, down to the finals, you get 3 days off, you get 2 days off. What kind of bullshit is that?
I do hate the extended rest time periods in between the finals again, but this is like the furthest distance they can pretty much go, right? From Alberta to
the schedule is set up before the finals. The schedule is set up a year in advance. They set that stuff up a year in advance. They don't set up, the travel now, we're going to change the schedule. That's not how it works.
I'll say this, at least regarding the Dobson, because I have been very big on this for 2 years now. You guys know my take. I said the future $10 million man. I'm not sure the Islanders give him a long-term extension. I'm not sure what Darche is going to do there, but I think it's important. I just don't think they're going to give him I don't think they're going to give him an eight-year deal. I think he maybe gets a bridge where they qualify him, whatever they're going to do. If you're going to want to sign a guy like that, because trust me, he's going to start to see what are the Evan Bouchard signing for. Bouchard's same exact draft class, right? So you think he's going to go ahead? He'll sign himself a contract extension this offseason. I'm going to put money on that, and I guarantee you it's going to be north of $10 million. Now, here's the thing. People say, Bouchard, better offensive numbers. Absolutely. If Dobson was playing with Draisaitl, if he was playing with McDavid, with guys like Hyman, Evander Kane, his numbers on the special teams and just in general would be much higher, right? Just by being a proxy, being on the ice.
He's a point-a-game guy in Edmonton. He's absolutely
close to it. Close when he's playing his style. I mean, he put up 70-something points last year on the Islanders. 2 years ago, I'm sorry. And, last year he had a down year, still 40-plus points. He's a bare minimum 65 to 85 a point a year type of guy in Edmonton.
You swap him out for Bouchard on that number 1 power play unit, he's a point-a-game guy because that power play is lethal.
Yep.
He's going to get a ton of assists. A ton. He'd have 60, 65, 70 assists playing on that team on that power play. No doubt about it. It doesn't matter. There's one guy I was really disappointed in, though, yesterday for Edmonton. Evander Kane. We've had our issues with Evander Kane. He's been a locker room cancer everywhere he's been. He was a little bit salty when they got beat last night, so he took a couple of runs. Well, I do, and let me finish. He takes a couple of slashes at Matt Tkachuk. Whatever, Tkachuk's, he's an agitating piece of shit, without a doubt, and he gets sent off. But he doesn't come out for the handshake line. And I'm sorry, if you're good enough to go out there for the handshake line when your team is winning, You better get your ass out there and shake hands when you lose. Billy Smith did not go out for the handshake line ever. Win, lose, or draw. I respect that. There's no way you go out for the handshake line when you're winning and then your team gets beat and you don't show up. Suck it up. Be a man. Get your ass out there. You got your ass kicked. You're another freaking paper tiger, invisible piece of shit during the playoffs. So I got no respect for you at all. You should have got out there, shook the guy's hand, said, congratulations.
When you get a game misconduct, you're allowed back on the ice that day. I think the answer is no.
When the series is over, absolutely. It's the end of the series. It's the end of the series. He didn't have the balls to get out there and give the handshake line. Like I said, if he wasn't out there for any of the other series enders shaking hands at the end of the game, that's a totally different story. But man, when things are going great, hey, great job, Johnny. We beat your team. You lose and you won't go back out there. Zero respect for him. Zero.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you're allowed back on the ice after you get thrown out of the game.
Well, guess what? People aren't allowed on the ice too. Everybody was out there anyway, right? People from the stands were out there on the ice too. So what do you mean? It's a handshake line. They had guys who didn't even play in the series are out there handshake lining. He absolutely could have been out there. He didn't want to. He played throwing a little pissy fit.
Who gives a shit?
They learned. You learn about him, right? They've learned about him.
Who cares? Who cares?
It bothers me. You ask. That doesn't matter what you.
I didn't ask anything.
I did.
I didn't ask anything.
You might not care about it, but I do. I thought it's embarrassing. Don't go out for anything. It's like, hey, you either go to the ceremony and go to the dinner, but if you don't go to the ceremony, you don't go to the dinner. Period. End of sentence. End of story.
Yeah, I don't care that he didn't go out. It has nothing to do with the Islanders. He's got nothing to do with the Islanders. He'll never play for the Islanders. Doesn't impact me at all, so I don't really care about talking about it. I will say this. I think Edmonton has got places to improve.
What does Edmonton have to do with the Islanders? Why are we talking about Edmonton then, right?
I'm wrapping up. I'm about to transition away. You were talking about the Stanley Cup for the last 15 minutes.
Again.
We're wrapping that segment up, buddy. That's what I'm doing.
Hold on. What was your prediction for the Stanley Cup Finals?
Edmonton to win.
Who did I predict to win? Who did I predict to win?
You took the easy.
Thank you very much.
Easy route.
Thank you very much.
You took the easy route.
TJ, you've been 1,000.
You actually predicted Toronto. You actually predicted Toronto. And you predicted. Okay.
You've been
stop talking. I don't have to mute you.
Time.
I don't have to mute you. You also predicted Toronto when they went up 2-0 on Florida. Remember who I said was my dark horse? That's right, Toronto. And guess what? Simple. You flip-flop every which way. And guess what? If Edmonton was up 3-0 in the series, like Edmonton looks like it's going to win, you can flip-flop every which way you want, and you just get landed on the right one at the end. I don't flip-flop. I pick who I'm going to pick, and I stick by it. And I say, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you just flip-flop. It's
who's
different from you and I.
Who's the team who played Florida the toughest throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs this year? Who's the team?
Flip-flopper.
Toronto. Toronto's second best team in the league. Edmonton, they blow. They got 2 players on the team, and those 2 players are pretty damn good. But you know what? At the end of the day, they weren't even as good as they were last year. Edmonton has one more chance to win the cup. One more chance next year. That's it.
Okay. I'm ready to move on past that, like I tried to do about a few minutes ago. I'm ready to move on past the Stanley Cup to get back to the New York Islanders.
Let's go.
We will. So hired Ryan Bowness. Looks like maybe, right? Perhaps Darche may not be as handcuffed as what I originally had thought and what we think. I think this offseason will be important, at least player personnel, or at least decision-wise of hockey personnel. I think it's important, right? If that's the only move he makes, I kind of feel still the same way I did, as I mentioned last show. I still am in a spot to where I'm fearful that he's handcuffed. Still am. It potentially could be a sign of he has a little bit more control than what I thought he did to make immediate moves. Again, bring in Ryan Bowness. I'm not sure how much of that is, hey, he was already paid. He was fired, so he still was getting paid, and he's coming in on the cheap to join the Islanders. I'm not sure for a year. I have no earthly idea. But I do want to see some more moves and more creative control and impact on things. And as long as it gets done, I'll be happy. But if we're looking at kind of the start of October or the start of next year, and it's like, oh, hey, the only type of decision we've made is by adding, we changed a few, the chairs on the Titanic in Bridgeport, and we're in a spot to where we just brought in Ryan Bowness. That was all we did, at least regarding the player development or the personnel decisions. That's just not enough, in my opinion, to put a tangible impact on what you want the team to look like. So I'm hoping we see more of that. I'm hoping we see more of an impact like we saw. Okay, we bring in a guy like Ryan Bonus. What else are we going to do? That's I think the curious thing that I think can have an immediate impact or would have an impact this offseason. He could or should do.
Okay. I think that it was a nondescript hire. I thought the whole big thing is, we're bringing in the guy from Tampa. Wait till July 1st. Wait till July 1st. They're going to see fireworks. The Islanders are going to be setting the league on fire. He's going to make all his moves on July 1st. Well, they hired some guys probably under contract somewhere else, so they don't have to pay him. That's a New England Patriot trick. So, hey, maybe that's what the whole thing's about. But if you were supposed to bring in the guy from Tampa, why not wait a week? Maybe he didn't want to come. Maybe he doesn't think much of Mathieu Darche. I have no idea. But that seemed like the path of least resistance again. Stefan Rosner reported he's not taking over Bridgeport. Fredo is still in charge of Bridgeport. Well, shit. Where's the improvement for this organization coming?
I will say when I hear that, it does definitely provide credence to they were given extensions before Lou was canned.
Oh, I believe they were.
Well, I think it gives, if you're leaving a guy, right, Ryan Bonus just came from a spot where he was in charge of the AHL affiliate for Grumpy, the Belleville Senators, and now all of a sudden he comes in, he has direct experience doing that, and what you do is you say, yeah, let's leave the guy who's historically awful in charge of the Bridgeport Islanders. Tells you all you need to know. I think he's still on the payroll. He was given an extension by his dad, and it's the reason why a guy like Ryan Bonus is not moving directly into, okay, I'm in charge of the AHL as well.
I mean, what was the job he did with Belleville? Were they any great shakes the 3 years he was in charge there? No.
I think it was one.
I thought it was 3 years he was in charge of that program.
No, one, Grump.
Okay, 1 year. Okay. And they weren't great either. Okay. So, he fits right in with the Bridgeport mentality, the New York Islanders mentality. The team's not that good. Don't matter. Like I said, they'll have to do a lot more than this to show me that they're changing direction. Right now, there's been no change of direction. None.
Sorry, Ryan Bonus was it. He was with the Ottawa Senators organization for 3 years. He was in charge as the GM of the Belleville Senators for 2 of those 3 seasons.
And what did they make the playoffs? Did they do anything in those 2 years? I don't know.
Last year they made the postseason, Grump. I don't know. I could pull up the year prior for you as well because you want that information.
Okay. But, if he's not going to be in charge of that, what does it matter anyway?
No, sorry. They missed in 2024, 2025, and they made it and lost in the first round of 2023, 2024.
He fits right in with the Islanders then. If you make the playoffs, you get bounced in the first round, then they're probably not going to make it. So maybe that's what they're hoping for Bridgeport too.
Yeah, he's not involved with Bridgeport. You're not even listening. Maybe you're not following what we're trying to have a discussion on right now. But I'm concerned that Chris, it looks like, absolutely was given an extension on that. That's what that looks like.
We know that's happened already. We know that's happened.
Well, there's still some questions around that. That has not been confirmed.
Okay. I'm going on assumption that's absolutely happened, that they've both been signed to extensions. Otherwise, why would they still be there? There's no reason they'd still be there. Why would they still be there? If their contracts were up, why would they still be there? Historically, the worst AHL season of all time. Why would you keep somebody? Why would you just not announce it immediately when you let go of the old man, you let go of the kid? It's because they've already signed him to extensions. It's been leaked.
I think so. But I don't think you're talking about Ryan Bonus fitting in with the AHL. He's not having any impact on the AHL. I just want to see them make more decisions regarding personnel that Darche can have an impact on, as I just mentioned. That's what I want from this. That's what I think he can do this offseason. That can have a result that's saying he's molding this organization into his own. If that's the only personnel decision he makes, besides changing the head coach and a few ancillary pieces here or there on the NHL staff that was directed by Patrick Waugh, I don't know.
Mathieu
Just
Darche
not what I want.
He's done nothing since he's come here. I'll give him the bonus hire. I'll give him that. But other than that, but I'm in agreement with you. I'm not looking to move Pajot or Lee until the deadline. I'm not looking to move any assets to move up to get James Hagens. Not a one. If you
Okay.
can get,
You and I disagree on that. I don't know
that's
why
fine.
you're so adamant on that.
I'm not giving up draft picks to pick up
Why?
James Hagens because
Why?
I just don't think he's that good. I've been looking at him, and I just don't think he's that good. And the most reason why people say they want him is because he's from Hauppauge, New York. Okay, that's not good enough reason for me to draft somebody. And
The
because
reason
he
most
wants to
people
play
want
for the
him.
Islanders, who cares?
The
I want
reason most
somebody.
people want him.
Okay,
Go ahead.
he's going to be a winger in the NHL. He's not big enough to be a center. He's just not. And he doesn't compete. His compete level is bad. I've noticed that. I noticed it in the finals of the NCAA tournament finals. I was astounded with what the hell is this guy doing goal hanging? We already have an Anthony Duclair on this roster. We don't need another one. How many of those guys do you need on your team? I agree we have to get faster, but I'm not trading a bunch of chips in this year's draft. I'd much rather wait for next year. That's what I would do.
If he slips to 7 or 8, I think we would be foolish not to step back in and try to have a play in for that.
What would you be willing to give up?
Again, if it be a piece like a guy who's competing on the roster now that makes the team immediately better and a first-round pick for next year, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'm not doing that.
In my plan, I'm still going ahead and trading away draft pieces and adding more first-round picks next year.
Okay. Okay. What about Callum Ritchie? Would you move Callum Ritchie for James Hagens?
No. Why would we move Callum Ritchie for James Hagens?
Because he's the hero of the people. He certainly was more highly respected coming out of the draft than Callum Ritchie was. I'm agree with you. I wouldn't move Callum Ritchie.
Grumpy. Callum Ritchie's right now rated as a top 20 prospect in the entire NHL.
I wouldn't move Callum Ritchie.
What are we confused about?
Okay, but I'm just saying, I'm not trading first round pick for that guy. I just don't want to do it. The more I look at him, the less and less I want him on this team. That's just me. If I can get him for a
game guy in college,
I don't care. He got bullied. He's small. He's really small. And he's adverse to punishment. He's a perimeter Pete. I don't want one of those guys. And let me give credit to Engvall and particularly Holmstrom. They played themselves out of that. They're bigger guys, though. They're way bigger than James Hagens. Like I said, I'm not breaking the bank or moving a piece that can be part of this team going forward for James Hagens. If you want to move, okay. I would not.
Simple. If all you have to do is trade away an active player now that becomes replaceable, if that's Pelech, if that's Romanoff, I'd rather it be Romanoff. If it's Pelech, whatever Mathieu Darche wants to do with that, it's his discretion. But when you draft a guy like Schaefer, that means that you've got your number one defenseman locked in that could be playing 25, 24 minutes a night. And your second line guy who's playing 18 minutes a night, you don't need to be paying, and having a third line defenseman, a scenario, either Pelech or Romanoff, there to play, hey, I'm playing 14-ish minutes a night, 15 minutes a night, 60 minutes a night. You don't need that.
I agree with you there. I just don't want to trade first-round draft picks. I'm just at the point we just don't have enough.
It's a first-round draft pick now. You're getting a first-round draft pick to do so.
Okay, but where are James Hagens full in next year's draft? That's the way I look at it. Okay, if he's number 8 this year.
He was a consensus number 1 overall guy for multiple years.
But he hasn't been for a while. There's a reason.
For this year.
Well, he wasn't to start the year either. Matthew Schaefer's been number 1. Matthew Schaefer's been number 1. Matthew Schaefer by far is the best player in this draft. And they absolutely, I think they will take him. I don't even think they could screw that up. Maybe it's just years and years of being an Islander fan and just seeing them screw things up when like unscrewable things they manage to screw up, that I'm a little bit leery. That's all. Could I see them overpaying for the right to draft James Hagens? Yep, I absolutely could. And I think that would be a catastrophic mistake.
Depends on what you've got to give up. If you've got
how about Noah Dobson in Colorado's first next year? Would you do that?
Why would that even be in your thought?
Because that's an overpay. Maybe they say, well, you know what?
Noah Dobson, if they traded Noah Dobson today, what would he get back in return? 3
maybe
or
James
4
Hagens.
first-round picks?
Maybe James Hagens. Maybe they're just like, we want James Hagens.
I can't even. You're not even being realistic here,
but you know
Grumpy.
what?
You're just
But
killing me right now, dude.
This team makes dumb mistakes all the time. You can't say that they
dude.
don't. They make a lot of dumb decisions all the time.
Killing me, Grump.
All right.
They're not. Noah Dobson has a lot more value than a 7th overall draft pick or a 6th overall draft pick.
I agree.
Then I don't know why you're throwing something out there. It's like you're the inverse of the Cuck brothers is what you're doing right now. Hey, what's what we can do to get McDavid? Oh, well, maybe we can give up this, and this, and we'd only get this back in return.
If management is
the opposite side.
If management is hell bent on drafting James Hagens because he loves the Islanders, they could easily overpay for him. That's my concern. If you're telling me Pelech is getting moved or Romanov is getting moved and a 2nd-round pick, okay, I'm willing to do that. But I'm not willing to trade away. I don't want to trade away 1st-round picks. I just don't. Because you can take Colorado's first next year, move Pajot and for a 1st at the deadline, move Lee maybe even for a 1st at the deadline, and package and move up. And then you get higher level prospects going forward. That's all I care about is the future of the team, not the immediate.
This is my point. If you're going to be trading away pieces at the deadline that are not part of your future, it's okay if you move a 1st-rounder that you have in 2026 because you're going to be adding more 1st-rounders at the deadline. You can't accumulate 4 or 5 or 6 1st-round picks that year. It's worth rolling the dice if a guy like this falls far enough to say, this is a guy that we identify. He had the rep. He had maybe one bad year. We're going to roll the dice on him. We're still going to be adding more picks because we're starting the turnover process. Again, if that's even what Mathieu Darche wants to do, right? We don't know what he wants to do. We got a lot of coach speak. I don't anticipate we're going to see anything over the offseason that's going to be defining. I think this year at the deadline, as I mentioned last show and shows before, this year at the deadline will be the time period to really pass judgment on Mathieu Darche. I think if we don't see a lot of personnel decisions and changes this offseason, we've seen one real one, in my opinion, which is Ryan Bonus. If we don't see more decisions like that made, I still kind of have a worry that ownership has handcuffed him early in his general managing career, is my opinion. And then you're in a spot to where if he doesn't trade guys at the deadline, tells you all you need to know. He thinks that the team maybe is a competitor or can compete. I think this year's deadline has to be a figure out who's part of the solution going forward, start to move away from guys who aren't. There's your Anders Lees, there's your Jean-Gabriel Pageaus, and start to turn over the roster and start to make your input on what you want the Islanders to be. That's what he should be doing right now or at the deadline.
If he doesn't move Lee and Pageau at the deadline, he's the wrong general manager.
I agree.
Period. That's
the rumor was that, passed around by Phil, that they want to sign Anders Lee back. They want to see him retire an Islander.
That's what loser teams do. That's what loser organizations do. That's why it would not stun me. If that was the case, it would not stun me at all if they moved Noah Dobson to try to get James Hagens. It would not stun me. That's what loser organizations do. They do dumb stuff like that all the time because they're losers. They can't see the forest for the trees. This team hasn't won anything since 1983. Sorry. It's just not good enough. Management, everyone has said management really wants the Hagens kid. Tells me they're willing to overpay for the Hagens kid. That's what it tells me.
How do you know if they're willing to overpay? We don't. We're speculating, obviously. But
because here's the thing. Let's say you're really, really thirsty. You haven't had a drink in days. I'm willing to give you $100,000 for a drink of water. Whereas, hey, if you wait a couple of weeks, you only pay, $1. But I desperately want that water. Okay, it's going to cost you this. Okay, I'll do it. It's the same thing. It's a cost value. I just think that they're desperate for that kid.
How many teams are willing to trade up to try to pick James Hagens? You think there's a huge market? You've been talking about how he continues to drop in projections. Obviously, the more that he drops, there will be more demand to pick up, to trade up to get him. I'm going to say this. I don't think there's as much of a demand to trade up into the first round as you think. And that's where if a guy like that drops, as he's been dropping on multiple boards, I think you could trade up and it won't cost as much as you expect.
Well,
And that could give us a very early taste of success in Mathieu Darche's general manager career if he could make off the heist of a century and not give up too much, but he goes ahead and he secures James Hagens for a song of a deal.
Yeah. Okay.
But it can also put a bad imprint if he overpays and gives up an arm and a leg to get a guy like James Hagens who's been slipping in draft stock. So it could be one or two ways, right? We're going to find out real quick if that's the case as to what we think about him as a GM.
And you have Chicago and Utah both said that they're interested in trading down. Chicago says they were willing to trade that number 3 overall pick for some immediate help.
So there's a lot of supply.
They signed Ryan Donato back to a $16 million deal today.
There's a lot of supply of people who are willing to move back in the draft. So you can go ahead and use that as your leverage if you're a team that's looking to have the demand of the multiple picks that people are looking to trade back on. It's not like you can only work with one team or two teams. There's a lot of teams that are looking to make those trades potentially. So I don't think he'll get killed. If this is one where it's like, man, every single pick is like a can't miss guy, like the 2026 draft class, it's going to cost you a whole lot more to trade up in next year's draft class than it will this year's draft class. That's where it's like, if you think you could find a guy who can make an impact and you're trading away potentially a mid to late 2026 first round pick and a guy who competes now, I'd be fine with that.
The only way I would look at moving a first round pick for next year is if it's a first round pick of the Islanders choosing. So if they get, let's say Colorado has a down year, but you wind up trading Pajot to Florida. I'll just throw whatever out there. I don't even know if Florida's got us. I'm just for a scenario, Toronto, where Toronto's picking 28. Okay, well, you're going to get Toronto's pick as opposed to Colorado's. Then I would consider it. That's the only way I consider it. I'm not locking in a pick that I'm willing to move to, like, let's say they say, well, we want the Islanders' first round pick next year. Would you do that?
No.
But let's say the Islanders say, well, it's just a first round pick and we're going to get James Hagens.
Why would they do that?
Because they're dumb. They're stupid. They do a lot of stupid things.
Okay, it's tough for you to say that this guy who's at the helm is dumb and makes a lot of stupid decisions. You can't use that same thought process. If it's Lou Lamoriello, we could say, well, we can use the track record we've seen from him. I just don't think it's in good faith to say that, oh, because other GMs in the past have been bad. It's like the same stupid idiots who talk about drafting. I can't say because other GMs have been shitty before in the past, that means their next GM, Mathieu Darche, is going to be shitty, right? I don't think you can do that.
I don't think that you're fully grasping how much ownership wants James Hagens.
I think they want him.
So do I. So I think that they're just going to tell Darche to do it, just like that's the only reason he got the job, because he's easily manipulated and he listens to ownership. Ownership tells him to do something, he does it. The other guys didn't want the GM job because they were dictating who was going to stay and who was going to go. And do you want to operate as that as a general manager where ownership is telling you what to do? I don't. These guys have been hands-off owners for how many years, and all of a sudden now they want to tell you who to draft? I mean, and I don't know. I'm just spitballing because we have a show to do today. So, I mean,
you're doing shitty takes on purpose. I feel
okay.
Like,
I don't think it is. I think if ownership tells him that they want that, you make sure you get that Hagens kid, then guess what? Darche will overpay to make sure he gets the Hagens kid.
Have they ever done that before?
No, but they haven't done a lot of things before. But now they're doing them now.
No, I still think they're hands off. What I think is unfortunate is they just let Lou sign back all of his guys. I think they put him in a financial bind, which is, I think they put him in a financial bind, potentially, Mathieu Darche. And you've got a whole bunch of guys that were given extensions that they were not immediately going to fire as soon as a new contract kicked in, owe a whole bunch of money, and then have to purchase and sign somebody new to essentially pay, hey, instead of us paying 3 assistant GMs, now we're going to be paying 6 assistant GMs. They weren't going to do that. So, I'm just confused as to what your thought process is. They're not hands-on based off of what we've seen. They'll do whatever the hell he wanted for multiple years. I don't think they're all of a sudden going to get hands-on with Mathieu Darche. I think they want him, but I think if it's only that presents itself and the deal's right. So Could he overpay? Sure. And if so, then you got to criticize him. Can he underpay and get a song of a deal? Maybe, sure. And if so, you praise him. I just think to automatically have the mindset of it's going to go awful because the GM is wearing blue and orange. It's like the same idiots who say we shouldn't draft anybody because look at how bad we've done before in the draft. Well, just because the Islanders have done a shitty job drafting players in the past doesn't mean that whoever the new scouting staff and whoever the new department's going to be is going to do a shitty job, scouting amateurs and a shitty job drafting. You can't use that mentality, Grump.
But they have all the same scouts too.
Well, they were signed to a 2-year extension, correct?
Okay. Well, so what would you expect to change when you're keeping this? Everything is the same from the previous failed regime, and you expect the results to change. Isn't that the definition of insanity?
No. What I'm expecting is, okay, what are you expecting to happen change-wise if guys were given multiple-year extensions under Lou Lamoriello? They can't make those immediate changes.
That's my
point. No, that's not your point. That's not your point. Your point was that Mathieu Darche is going to make an immediate fuck up and overpay for him because you think management's putting the finger.
That's right.
What is giving you the thought process to think that management's doing that?
Because
it makes you feel that way.
I think they desperately want that Hagens kid. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong.
You are wrong.
Oh, well, we're going to find out. I hope I am wrong. But would it surprise me if on draft day they piss away a bunch of assets to draft James Hagens and they come out and say, oh, well, this kid really loves the Islanders. If I hear that again, I'm sorry. I think I'm going to puke all over my computer screen. I don't care that he was a fan of the New York Islanders. I could care less if he's a fan of the New York Islanders. Can you play hockey better than everybody else? That's all I care about. Don't care where you're from. Do not care.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and play this clip. This was, I think I was tagged in a few times. This is Cal Clutterbuck talking about James Hagens, and then we'll go ahead and jump into their ad read, and we'll start jumping into the comments. And X has done a very shitty job of starring comments per the usual today, but we will go ahead and listen to this, and then we'll start jumping into some comments.
It's not up, just to let you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said it's not up. My apologies. I'll flip that on there. Okay.
So I think it's a home run to take the D-man. And, I feel badly. Like it would be great if they can land Hagens too. But I think there might be another backdoor event that leads to that versus not taking Schaefer at 1.
Yeah.
So again, he thinks if there was a way to pick, he thinks again, Schaefer pretty much is a consensus 1. That's going to happen. He thinks if they were to take Hagens, it would be due to a backdoor event like a trade that happened at the draft instead of them selecting Hagens number 1 overall. So no problem with that at all.
From what I understand, Schaefer has really separated himself with everyone else at the interview portion of the combine. Just separate himself from everyone.
Yeah. They're going to make the right decision there. It's pretty much proof at this point. So
I agree.
I don't have that worry that they're going to screw that up.
I agree.
Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup Finals. Well, technically, the finals are over, but we still have got this ad to read, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slapshot, breakaway, and overtime thriller to the next level. If you're new in betting in the Stanley Cup Finals, you're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app and pick your team to win. Lock in your wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, it's simple, and it puts you right in the middle of the action. You've heard us talk about it. It's the same with all of these sports. We're switching over to baseball season. You could say, great, I'm expecting Jacob deGrom to go out there and strike out 7 guys. I'm expecting him to get a quality start, to pitch 6 innings and not give up 3 or more earned runs. You can add a whole bunch of these bets for same game parlays for an even bigger payout. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And with DraftKings, you can pretty much do it on any sport. Now that the NHL season's over, you can look at MLB. You can look NBA finals. I don't know. Are the NBA finals on right now, Grump?
I have no idea. I don't think they play till tomorrow night, I believe.
Okay. The NBA finals are still in, right? It's still between Oklahoma City Thunder and the Pacers. So, there's a lot of different ways to keep involved before NFL season and NHL rolls back around. But here's the kicker. For new customers who bet just $5, you will score $300 in bonus bets if your wager hits. That's right. Turn $5 into a Stanley Cup final payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN. Again, that's promo code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available if you have a gambling problem. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of the Boot Hill Casino and Resort. You must be 21 years or older, and age varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. The bet must win to receive the reward, and the minimum minus 500 odds are required. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio.
Nice job. Does it bother you that Mathieu Darche said that he considers Anthony Duclair part of the team going forward next year?
Kind of talked about this last time, didn't we?
I don't remember if we did or not.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
I'll put it like this. He's not doing anything right now. He's just putting and assembling the exact same team back together for this next year. What are you going to do? He's not okay. Anthony Duclair, coming off the worst season of his career, is not going to say, let me mutually terminate my contract where I was making $4 million a year, and let me go back out there as a free agent and hope I can go ahead and bet on myself again and make some money, grumpy. So I don't know what he's going to do on that, but he wasn't going to mutually terminate the contract. So they had to get him back on board. I don't think the demand for him, again, having the worst year of his career, was very high at this point. He knows that. His agent knows that. So the only option they had was to get him back on board and, see how things go or could possibly change.
You could have bought him out too.
Why would you do that?
Because you don't want a cancer on your team like that. He quit on your team last year.
I would rather send him to Bridgeport than to buy him out.
Okay.
And then I'd send him to the EHL, right? Like if you're like, oh man, we don't like him having an impact on the A. Oh, he's impact. Then you send him to Worcester or the EHL. Okay, sounds great. You're going down to the EHL now.
I don't want him on the big league roster. I just don't. I'd rather give somebody else a shot than play a guy who's going to quit when the coach says something mean to him. I don't want a guy like that.
I don't think he's part of our future. I don't think he's part of our success, our path to success. But again, you don't even know what Mathieu Darche wants to do with the team and what direction he wants to head. We're not going to have a clue of that, I don't think, until the trade deadline. So, Again, we'll see how that works. But I think they're just going to roll the exact same lineup out there, minus a small ancillary change here or there. And that's what we're going to see going forward. So
no change. Okay.
Well, we said this. We're fine if there's no change. We agreed we're fine if there's no change, as long as this year at the deadline they use the time period to say we've evaluated what we have on the team over the last 40, 50 games, and these are the guys that we're moving away from, and this is the direction we're in. You can't expect, right? Like I have no problem if that's the case.
Okay. Okay. I just think when you bring in a new GM, you're expecting a change of direction at some point. That's why you bring somebody in. You want to change in the direction of the team. So far, I don't see a change in the direction of the team. That's all I'm saying.
Not always do you see a change in direction. Sometimes it's like, okay, the guy can't.
Why would
the guy can't get us over the hump? The guy can't get us over the hump. We feel like we've got all the right pieces. We feel like a really strong team, but he can't get us over the hump. Okay, we need to get a new GM to help get us over the hump. There's different reasons people hire GMs. I don't know. I don't know what he's been hired for. At least in the interview, he said this team should be a team that's competing for the playoffs. So I don't know. We'll have to see what actually happens. Again, we're not going to know this year until the trade deadline. I firmly believe that. So,
okay, but we're both in agreement that you should not move a JG Pajot in the off season because you can get more for him at the deadline. Correct?
Depends on what the offer is. I'm not. I don't. They're not going to do anything. I don't even know why you're entertaining that. They're not moving Jean-Gabriel Pageau this
There are
offseason.
rumors out there that they are going to do things.
Who are those rumors being spread by?
I'm hearing rumors. You're hearing Boston that wants Pageau part of a big deal so the Islanders can get Hagens. That was the rumor today. I'm just saying, and that's not,
if it was Pageau straight up to get Hagens,
I would do that. But that's not. That's part of like a bigger deal.
What? Okay, what's the difference then? You're giving up. Okay, you see, just like from a logic standpoint, it's just you're being very inconsistent. I feel like, and it's hard for me because if Jean-Gabriel Pageau, he's an asset you could trade away at this year's deadline. He's on an expiring deal. You're going to get at least a first-round draft pick for a guy who's going to be your second-line center all this year. Just probably is what's going to be the outcome.
Hopefully.
Probably, but it's going to be a late first-round pick. So what's the difference then if you had to say, okay, we had to package a guy who's going to be obsolete in a defenseman in Romanov or Pelech and a late first-round pick? It's the same thing.
Okay. I'd rather keep my assets as long as I could. I'm not opposed to moving veterans at all. Not at all. But for a team that is not deep in the talent pool in the minors, it's an older team. I don't want to be giving up young. I don't want to be giving up young, controllable assets. I just don't want to. Second rounder is one thing, but I don't want to be giving up first round picks. Not next year's draft. Just don't.
All right, JP.
I hate Gary Bettman. So who's winning the cup next year? I'll cut down the possibilities now. Vegas, LA, Dallas, Nashville, Carolina, Florida, Tampa. I'm picking Florida. Why not? And I think Tampa second, maybe Toronto. Vegas is the favorite supposedly to get Mitch Marner. He'd fit in well there. He would.
Vegas is a team that's just, I don't know, they're just lacking something.
Yeah, Mitch Marner would fit in there because they don't need grit. They have plenty of that. They need Mitch Marner would be a good pickup for them. JP adds the Oilers management blew it by not getting a goaltender. It's more than just a goaltender. That's not where they failed. You pick up guys like Skinner and Arvidsson, they didn't pan out. If they were even half the players they were previously, Edmonton would have been much better, much deeper team. They're a two-player team, just are.
I've got here.
But here's the thing: they have Skinner and Pickard are both under contract for one more year. They make $3.5 million between the two of them. It's like if you want to go out and get a goaltender, that's going to cost you some money. Do they have it? They have to re-sign McDavid this offseason. That's a must.
I reported this last week that Boston is one of the teams that has inquired about the Islanders' Jean-Gabriel Pageau. The number 7th overall Boston pick is probably as far as Hagens would go. Good work here. Bruins and the Islanders trade talk are heating up, and it's not just about Pageau. Sources confirm the number 7 overall pick and Hagens are in play. What the RG Media says now. The RG Media, what's his face? Stefan Rosner, I believe, is going to be working and writing a little bit for them. But I'm not sure. You're probably going to get more. I don't know.
What did the full report say? Did you click on the full report?
I don't know. I assume this has a paywall, just like a lot of things that Stefan writes to, but I'm not sure. Or maybe you got to be subscribed to it. I have not pulled it up. Recent report from Islanders beat writer Stefan Rosner, which stated the Bruins have expressed their interest in Jean-Gabriel Pageau. However, according to this source, trade talks between the two Eastern Conference teams who both missed the 2025 NHL draft or the NHL playoffs are expanding beyond Pageau. Much more than that, the 7th overall pick has been discussed too. It's not just with the Islanders, the source told RG. So it'll be a multi-team trade.
Okay.
Just don't know. You know what I mean?
Right. And who knows? Who knows?
I know the Islanders are being creative and looking for multiple options. Sources told RG, why not keep the top pick, get Schaefer and Hagen somehow? Do the Bruins want to jump to 1? Of course. But, I'm not sure that they're willing to offer up what it would take to do that. I know the Bruins believe that they can turn the 7th overall pick into a solid player for the roster for coming season. What that means as far as the Islanders roster is concerned, I don't know.
Again, the love affair with James Hagens is just beyond my comprehension. If he was a fan of Winnipeg Jets, they wouldn't even be having this discussion.
They would need one of a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman in a package for the top pick, the aforementioned source said, for the 7th overall selection. So again, if it's great, all it's going to cost us is a guy like a Romanoff and something else to secure Hagens. If he's still there by that spot, I'm fine with that.
What about Romanoff, Holmstrom? Would it be Pajot, Romanoff, and Holmstrom for Hagens? Would you do that?
Well, okay. They didn't say that it would require a top 4 defenseman or top 6 forward.
Okay, I thought
they didn't say I need a top 6 forward, a top 4 defenseman, and a middle 6 guy. They didn't say that. I just said a top 4 defenseman or a top 6 forward.
And
it sounds like one guy.
So just okay. So if
that's what the report says, who knows? Again, it's a whole bunch of people throwing shit up against the wall. Who knows what's going to actually happen?
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying.
That would appear that he slips to 7.
I think
if that's the case, then I think they may have something that is already pre-worked out, a deal on that side. And if it's like, oh wait, that only cost us a guy like Romanoff or a guy like Jean-Gabriel Pageau, or it allowed us to make an impact. I don't know. We're going to see. But I wouldn't have a problem if it cost us one guy. You just said if it was Hagens for Jean-Gabriel Pageau straight up, you would be fine with that.
Yeah,
I still stand by that.
I just think it's going to cost way more than that. Way more than that.
Yeah. So top
JG Pageau was not worth JG Pageau was not worth the 7th pick in the draft. He just isn't. He's just not.
What did we give up to get him?
A 1st, a 2nd, and a 3rd 5 years ago, which was a wild overpay. A wild overpay. And our 1st round pick was not number 7. Our first pick was what? 23, whatever it was back then. A 2nd and a 3rd.
This is a weak draft.
That's why you don't reach in a weak draft.
There's a lot of people who are willing to trade. I don't know. Rick Romagrump.
You criticize Paul Maurice for quitting on the horrible Jets and their cancerous locker room, and 4 years and 2 cups later, the man is a Hall of Famer. You guys have to take the L on that one. I don't even think I said that. I know you did, but I don't think I did. But I might have, but that was a long time ago.
I still am very critical of Paul Maurice. I think it says more about the GM than it does the head coach. You had insert head coach here, and that's Burnett for that reference, that won the President's Trophy the year before, and they replaced him with Paul Maurice, who almost didn't make the postseason, but they make it to 3 Stanley Cup Finals in a row, right? Like the coach absolutely gets credit, but I think it says more about Barry Zito as a general manager assembling that team than it does about Paul Maurice, in my opinion.
What has Burnett won?
Nothing.
What has Paul Maurice won?
He won a President's Trophy.
What's Paul Maurice won? Who remembers the President's Trophy? What's Paul Maurice won?
Well, I don't. Okay, are you not?
When they won the President's Trophy, that was Joel Quenneville's team. Joel Quenneville started coaching that team to start the year. He was the next guy on the bench. That's what happened with him. You know what they found out? He wasn't the man, regardless that they won President's Trophy and then couldn't get out of the 2nd round. Paul Maurice comes in. They get Matt Tkachuk. The rest is history. They've been 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals. They've won the last 2. Paul Maurice is a really good coach. Andrew Burnett has proven that he's not. That was a good move.
It's like who's more important, Bill Torrey or Al Arbor, right? That's what I feel like this is more of the conversation of. It's like the chicken or the egg.
Equally the same. Al Arbor was a great coach and Bill Torrey was a great GM.
I'm saying in this scenario, the Barry Zito is more they're both Hall of Famers. Barry Zito is more valuable than Paul Maurice. I still do think that's a fucking quitting bitch. I still do believe he's a fucking quitter. Simple.
That's you. I don't remember my point in time. If I said he was a quitter, I absolutely take the L on that. I don't remember. I know you are, and you're still highly critical of him. And I said to you last night, he's a Hall of Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Last night he was an automatic Hall of Famer, and you said no last night.
No, I didn't.
Said no, you absolutely did.
You're just making shit up. You're making shit up.
Not true. That's not.
You're making shit up, or you're just not listening, or watching TV while we're talking. I don't know what it is.
Not true.
Simple as this. He makes the Hall of Fame, but the more important piece there is Barry Zito, the GM, than it is Paul Maurice. I think anybody else who argues it, we just disagree.
You still need a good coach, and he's a damn good coach. He's a damn good coach. Say whatever you want. He's a damn good coach. How did he do with any other team besides this stacked Florida team? How did he do with any other team besides that? Winnipeg was always a winning team. He's been a winning coach. It's not like
how many playoff games did he win in Winnipeg? Do you know that?
don't know. Why don't you pull it up and look at it?
The answer is not much.
You want to rip into him still after winning 2 straight Stanley Cups. I can't help you. I can't help you with that. The guy's he's a Hall of Fame coach. Period.
Yeah. He never did shit with Winnipeg, and he never did shit with Carolina any of the years that he was there as his head coach either.
I'm sorry, you just.
He did make the finals in Carolina back in 2001.
So that was pretty damn. So you got another team to the finals. Okay, so that makes them shitty. I disagree.
No playoffs. First round exit. No playoffs. First round exit. Made it to the finals. First round exit. No playoffs. Oh, I'm sorry. No playoffs when he was 2 years there in Toronto. Then he went back to Carolina. Third round. No playoffs.
That's before Carolina.
I don't know. Again, here's the thing. I think the guy who deserves more credit is Barry Zito than Paul Maurice.
Bill Zito.
Sorry, I keep calling him Barry Zito. Bill Zito deserves the credit. That's it.
Okay. I mean, guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame. When you go to Toronto and visit the Hall of Fame, you're going to see his fucking plaque there. And why don't you poo-poo it in front of everybody? The Hall of Fame coach that you just don't think is that good. Okay, that's fine.
That's right.
He's going to have well over 1,000 wins when his career is over, at least 2 Stanley Cups, and you could just say he's not a good coach. That's fine. Fantastic. Rick Roma says, Trotz may have been a good coach, but he sucks as a GM. He just gave the Devils $3.1 million in cap space by taking washed-up Eric Howler. Even gave up a 4th for the honor. Trotz's seat has to be getting hot. Why aren't the Islanders making deals with Barry Trotz? That's what I'm saying. You don't think he would have given you something for some piece of trash on your roster if he gave up that for Eric Howler, who is finished? Can't get out of his way. He wants older guys.
He's a bad GM.
He is.
He traded away Askarov for nothing. The goalie now for San Jose, gave him away. Just simple. Not a good general manager. Really fantastic regular season head coach. Barry Trotz, another example. If Barry Trotz never won that cup with Washington, he didn't deserve to make it to the fucking Hall of Fame. He'll make it to the Hall of Fame, but he didn't deserve it.
So a guy who wins 1 Stanley Cup is a Hall of Famer. And this guy's 2, and you're still shitting all over him as a coach. I just want to make sure I got that right. And because the 4 Cup Finals, 1-2, you shit on him. But Barry Trotz just went to 1 Cup Final, won it, and he's absolutely a Hall of Fame. I just don't know why. I don't.
With shitty teams like the Islanders, I saw him bring us to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. With bad and mediocre teams in Nashville, I saw what he can do. And he stepped in with a team with talent like Washington, and he had to overcome a lot of outside issues. 5
years with that talent, 5 years to get to a Cup final.
And what has Washington done? What's Washington done since he's been gone?
I don't know. They were really good this year. Weren't
the answer to that prompt is second round exit in the playoffs, right? Nothing.
Who won President's Trophy this year?
Oh, so again, Burnett is on a path of doing a great coach, huh?
No. Who won President's Trophy this year?
The Washington Capitals. Are you including that as a trophy now?
You said, what has Washington done? You said, what is what? You make sound like Washington's dregs of the league since he left. Okay, the guy from Toronto did a good job with them this year. They did a good job with them.
Sure.
To say that they're not still the dregs of the league, they're absolutely not. I'm not saying that
the dregs of the league. I said, what have they done? They won a President's Trophy, and that's hats off to them. But guess what? Burnett won a President's Trophy with that same exact Florida team the year before. So he inherited a great team, and he just plugged and played. And Barry Zito did a great job putting the finishing pieces on. Good job, Barry Zito. Shitty job by that fucking hack, Paul Maurice.
How much better of a coach is Paul Maurice than Andrew Burnett?
I think he's a much better coach.
Much better coach. He's a Hall of Fame caliber coach.
I think Burnett is a shitty coach. I think Burnett is a shitty coach.
I think you should put Paul Maurice in the Hall of Fame right now.
Okay. Here you go.
Freedom Front of goes, I have some questions for TJ. Would you like to take this opportunity to apologize for all the times you made fun of me? I would say that the answer is no to that. Number
Probably
2,
not.
What made you decide to abandon all of us? He had
one, had to. Number 2, had to. Number 1, I don't make fun of anybody like that. I'm not malicious ever.
He's not apologizing. He will.
John Smith says nobody likes a quitter. That's right. Nobody likes a Paul Maurice. He's a fucking quitter.
I think he's talking about you. He's talking about you. by the way. Not
maybe.
Paul Maurice.
I'm saying Paul fucking Maurice, the fucking quitter. You know what? I'm on path to my Hall of Fame fucking track. That's why I'm quitting the Islanders show. That's why I'm getting ready to launch my Hall of Fame career, Grump. All righty, free to fund adventure.
I really like the hiring of Bonus. He was working for teams that were having success and ascending in various ways. Those teams never won anything. He won't be the last move. TJ, remember the Romanov trade reaction is a low light. No, that's a highlight. I'm sorry. That's a highlight. That has to be part of the clip show without a doubt. Has to be.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
It was a good
one. Yeah, X has been, I'm going to tell you one thing. X better give a lot better effort than what he did tonight moving forward. That's all I'm going to say. He's countdown less than a week until he kicks in full gear, and I saw another half-assed effort from X tonight. I guarantee you can't even hear us. He's not even listening right now, thinking off. You got Freedom Fund or Wicked 50 Gal.
Very happy to hear that we may be getting Schaefer and Hagens. Hopefully it happens. Again, the Hagens thing. Hagens who cares about James Hagens? Wicked 50 Cal. If he didn't say that he loved the Islanders and wants to win the Stanley Cup for the Islanders, would you be pining for James Hagens? The answer is no.
Here's the thing.
What if Caleb Denoyer? I'd rather trade up and get Caleb Denoyer than I would to get James Hagens. James Hagens is not the answer. Just because he was born in Hauppauge does not mean that is the be-all, end-all. I don't give a shit at all that he likes the Islanders. I want the best players.
This guy Caleb Denoyer's Grumpy playing in the queue only put up 84 points in 56 fucking games.
I'm just throwing out. I'd rather get Brady Martin, for the instance, if he was available. I'll take guys like that over James Hagens. James Hagens.
Are you just throwing fake shit up there? Or you actually mean this?
I'm just saying. No one's saying trade up for Brady Hagens. It's for Brady Martin. It's trade up for James Hagens. And the only reason
it's trade up for James Hagens is two reasons. First off, the guy likes the Islanders. That's a part of it. Absolutely no denying it.
No.
I said two reasons. Two reasons. I said one of it absolutely is because he's an Islander fan. Number two is because he was the bona fide number one overall pick for multiple years leading into this year. You can shake your head all you want. He was supposed to be the first overall selection. He's fallen. So if you find a guy who has potential value that slips in the draft, I don't give a fuck who it is.
I watched
Caleb Denoyer slips into the second round. I'm saying fucking give up what we need to get that pick. What are we not understanding about?
I watched an interview with him that he had. And the interviewer asked him if he was happy about his development this year, where everyone else said no. He said, yes, I'm very happy with my development. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. You had an underwhelming year being a goal hanger for the second best team in the NCAA. You could not handle any physical pressure at all. You got bullied out there on the ice. I'm sorry. To say that, yeah, I was happy with this year, that's a negative for me. All he could gush about, he wanted to play for the Islanders. That's the only reason Islander fans want him is because he said that he's a fan of the Islanders. The only reason. No one else would be talking about him except that he said he likes the Islanders. That's my only
What were you
point.
expecting him to say? I was unhappy with my production this year.
I could have been way better than I am. There's way many parts in this game I need to improve on. He was happy with his season. Okay. I think others would beg to differ, namely the scouts. He's dropping for a reason.
All righty. To piss Grumpy off, select fucking Hagens first overall at this point. I'm all for it. Just to piss fucking Grumpy off, to send him into fucking heart attack.
JP says, it would not shock me, and I'm still hopeful that Darche shows Fredo the door come July 1st or 2nd. He ain't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. He's king of Bridgeport. And here's the thing. All of Bridgeport hates him. When people are spray painting shit on the ice, at end of the season skate, that sends a message. Why would you, again, buy him out, get rid of him? Thomas Antonetti goes, good evening, gentlemen. First off, TJ, forgive me for only wishing Grumpy a happy Father's Day. Hope you had a great one as well. Secondly, thoughts on the new assistant GM. Is Chris going to be gone?
Thanks, Thomas Antonetti. I think Chris is not gone. I think he's going to be, maybe he'll move into a different role, but he's not gone. And again, I just hope they start to make more personnel decisions this offseason. That would make me excited and enthusiastic about the future.
I will say the odds of with bonus as a GM of a minor league AHL, he did make the playoffs 1 out of 2 years, which is better than the 3 out of 30 years that Fredo was a GM in the AHL.
No more leading Islanders says Maurice is a great coach. Yes, Cito assembled a great lineup. Arbor benefited from Torrey's lineup.
Yeah.
Not getting the hate on Maurice. Is he the GOAT? No, but give the man his due.
Absolutely.
He'll make the Hall of Fame.
Man, it must pain. Look at the look on your face when you're saying it. You hate it.
He'll make the Hall of Fame. He'll make the Hall of Fame. I don't understand what other form of great respect can I give somebody by saying that he will be a Hall of Famer.
You still don't think he's that good.
If Joe Quenneville was there, they'd win 4 cups in a row.
You said he's a quitter. You called him a quitter.
Yeah,
on the show. On the show, you still called him
a quitter. He's a quitter. Okay. If Joe Quenneville was guess what? If Joe Quenneville, Florida wins the year that Burnett was there.
That's true.
He wins the year that shithead Maurice fumbled the bag the first time they lost in the finals. And he won the last 2. They were winning. Guess what? They would have encroached on Islanders territory by 4 cups in a row if Quenneville was still head coach there.
I agree.
I just think he anywhere else he's been, if he leaves Florida, I don't think he's a guy where it's like, oh man, he's going to make magic happen. Where I believe a guy like Quenneville, you're going to see San Jose. Is it Anaheim or San Jose? Anaheim. You're going to see Anaheim take a fucking big step forward next year. And it's not like, oh, magically Anaheim's put the pieces together. They got a fantastic head coach. I don't think it's the same for Paul Maurice.
I agree. I think Joel Quenneville, I don't know if he's still the best coach in the game. He's been gone for a number of years, but he's absolutely top-notch coach. Fantastic. The job he did in Florida was phenomenal. And what he did in Chicago, give the man his due. No problem there. Tommy Baffy says, Ryan Bowness is a quality hire. Boy, that's a rousing endorsement. He's quality. And he will replace Ken Morrow as director of scouting department. Morrow will stay on as consultant to the scouting staff.
I'd be fine now. He was in charge, I think, of pro scouting for the Pittsburgh Penguins for a bit. Again, like, you kind of do wonder, you hope a guy like that, everything you read about him is true. We don't know. I don't have any track record. I have not followed his career as an executive or person in hockey operations. Tough for me to say with my knowledge of it. But what you read about him is he's a hard worker. He's really diligent. And I hope he can continue to do that. I hope he carries that same enthusiasm in and he could, make an impact. That's what we're hoping for a guy like that. So there you go.
Freedom Front Event goes, I really hate how Hagens is sucking up so much oxygen. Even the Islanders are dumb enough to give up assets to get second, first, better players. Grumpy, you can't keep declaring all of these things as facts.
Grumpy's throwing a lot of ridiculous bullshit right now.
Robert D says, thanks for the ride, TJ. Now get off the bus.
We're getting off the bus here. Here you go, JP.
Ottawa's in pretty good shape from a hockey talent point of view, regardless. As we should know by now, they'll never win a cup because they're north of 37 degrees latitude. I don't think they're good enough to win a Stanley Cup, but they do have a lot of good young talent. They do. They need a goaltender as well. Olmark was pretty good for them. Michael Paul says, thanks for everything, TJ. Best of luck, and let's go Islanders.
Many thanks there, Michael. Absolutely. I've never seen so much chatter about us trading back up to top 5 or 7 pick to draft Hagens. With the draft a little over a week away, have your thoughts changed at all? I think we covered that. I hope Bonus is not a brown head. I don't know what that means.
Shithead. He's a shithead.
Here you go. Freedom Fund Adventure.
TJ, a tip saying the role Joanna plays, visas and administrative duties, is the director of hockey ops. It is not.
I don't know. I think it kind of, whoever explained it to me that way when I was talking to them, it made sense. I checked out. Phil's fax, is he joining tonight, says Dale S. No, he is not. Phil is sick. So I got a last podcast with Phil a while ago. So Peter A.
I'll read this one. It's more than one word.
Very long. Get to work, Grumpy.
What are the chances?
Your keep.
Oh my God. Here we go. Peter, please. What are the chances the Islanders trade the pick to San Jose and then take Misa or just outright take Misa first. They need scoring, and I am dreaming of a top 6 of Barzal, Horvat, Yzerman, Misa, Ritchie, Nelson, Siplikov. Keep hearing and reading Schaefer, but think that is the wrong pick. Trade Lee, Pajot, Mayfield. Ideally, take Misa and put it all together next year. Okay. Do you want to tackle that, TJ? Schaefer's the best player in the draft, and it's like he's in a tier all by himself. All by himself. It'd be like, I'm not calling him Bobby, like having to draft Bobby Orr and just say, no, we're going to pass on him because we want to pick a guy because we need scoring. Best player. Trade for the best player. Draft the best player. Your team will be better in the long run.
Wouldn't it be crazy if the Islanders traded up and got the 2nd overall pick to pick Misa?
They wouldn't. It'd be good to get James Hagens.
No, they wouldn't trade up to 2 to get James
They
Hagens.
absolutely would.
They would pick Misa over Hagens, I think.
I don't know.
Could you imagine you walk away? Again, it's at a great time. We won the draft lottery.
So now we're willing to espouse on these things where when I bring it up, we're not allowed to. Okay, go ahead, run with it. I don't give a shit.
Why did I do that? Because Peter was mentioning it, Grump. So I said, wouldn't it be crazy if something like that happened? It's not going to happen. I'm not going to spend more than, wouldn't that be crazy on it? I don't need to spend 5 or 10 minutes talking about it, trying to dig myself into that position. It just said, it'd be crazy. It'd get the people going. It'd get the excitement up. Rick Roma.
Didn't Rosner tweet Pajot for number 7? Dumb tweet.
Something like that. But it says it's going to be more involved with it. We covered it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Nick D says, Grumpy, TJ, how you guys doing tonight? Trade Romanoff and sign D'Angelo to a 2-year for $1 or $1.5 million per year. Pajot should be traded at next year's trade deadline. Keep Dobson. That's fair. I don't have a problem with any of that, actually. I think D'Angelo was overrated by just, they were playing out the string at the end, and he had a couple of games where he scored some goals, but he's horrific defensively as well. That's the
Give
problem.
him a 1-year, $2 million deal. I had no problem with it. If you trade away a Romanoff or you trade away a Pelech, give him a 1-year, $2 million deal.
Isn't he a right shot defenseman? Romanoff.
Did he play a little bit on the offside? No.
I don't know.
Left-handed. Left-handed, just like Pelech. Pelech and Romanoff are both left-handed defensemen.
He has to be with a solid defensive partner if you're going to put him out there. He has.
I think D'Angelo is a right-handed defenseman. So, anywho, Eve L says, how much money in terms should Holmstrom and Siplikov get?
I think
Siplikov is not going to get much.
Siplikov, what? I'm just looking at that Frederick contract and the Donato contract, and I'm like, my God, how much? Holmstrom and Siplikov are asking for more money now. That's when you see bad contracts be given out, that their agents are going to ask for that too. I don't know what they should get. Well, I know what they should get, but I don't know what they're going to get. I would sign Siplikov maybe $2 million per for 2 years, 3 years. That's it.
I could see him getting 2.5, 3.
I mean, Holmstrom's
at a spot where he's probably getting 3, 3.5.
2 years, $3 million.
3.5.
He just, that's still an overpay. He's under team control for how many more years? You don't have to overpay for that.
Yeah. Tom B says here, it's a big time for the rumor mill through July the 1st. Same thing happens every year. Mark Rodway says here, Yzerman and Hagens have good chemistry. Maybe bringing in Hagens helps both of them reach their top potential.
Yikes. No.
JP says he's from Long Island, so let's draft him. Yeah. Obviously, it's being
That's
facetious.
it in a nutshell. That's it in a nutshell. He's from Long Island. He likes the Islanders. He's the greatest thing ever.
John S.
Cal Clutterbuck was on a podcast a few days ago, was asked about the draft. He stated that it's very tough to find top-tier defensemen with maturity above his years. Take Schaefer, absolutely.
Yep, and we showed that clip there. Jeremy Ford says here, I'm keeping 25-year-old Romanoff ahead of Pelech. I think so too. If you could trade Pelech and he's got the same value as Romanoff, I'd trade Pelech. Pelech is a guy who's been very injury-prone, multiple concussions, misses time every year. I'd keep Romanoff, even though I think when they're both healthy, I think Pelech probably is a little better right now than Romanoff, but I think Romanoff for the long term is a better solution than Pelech.
I agree. Freedom Front Venture goes, when the Islanders are contenders again, these guys will be gone. Lee. Who the heck was 11? Who's 11? Oh, that's
Thankful.
Duclair.
Duclair. Tough to remember.
Engvall, Pulak, Pellick, Mayfield, Cizikas, 40 and 44.
44 is Pajot, right?
Pajot. Who the heck's 40? I just think Michael Grabner for some reason. It doesn't matter. If I can't even remember your number, you're not good enough. Samuel Bolduc, probably missing one or two. Yeah, most of all those guys are going to be gone before the hour.
Gatcombe.
Okay.
Or Cizikas. No, Cizikas 53. Maybe it's Gatcombe at 40. I don't know.
All right. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Am I bringing back Mark Gatcombe? Yeah, he's cheap. He's fine on the fourth line. You're not overpaying for guys. 1-year deals for these guys.
I don't know who 40 is, actually. Who the hell is 40 on the Islanders?
I just think Michael Grabner when I think 40.
I'm looking. I'm not seeing any 40s on their roster. Anyway, let's move along. Okay. Here you go. Eval.
Would Matt Karkner be your first choice as Bridgeport's new coach, or do you see any better candidates? I'm not even going to guess. I know the rumors going around that he is possibly a candidate for the Bridgeport job. That's fine. I can't even tell you about Bridgeport coaching.
I want two things from a Bridgeport coach: to focus on playing the young guys and all of the minutes and helping develop them and give them as many minutes as possible. The vets are always a second-tier option, and teach the kids how to be winners. Those are the only two things I want. That's the only two things I want from our Bridgeport coach. That's it.
Maybe that should be part of your NHL head coach too. Freedom from Adventure goes, I saw some Rangers podcast today and had Clutterbuck as a guest. He made a great pitch for why Schaefer's the guy and shit on Hagens. 3 dumb guys like this podcast, but they get better guests because they try.
We've had guests on like that who've been, what you notice is the guys who still work for the organizations don't say as much as you think. You just don't. So Matthew S. says here, Florida is a well-oiled machine. No pun intended.
They're good.
The Oilers miss Zach Hyman, but they have no effing goaltender, says JP. Barkov is a first ballot Hall of Famer, says Matthew S. Freedom from Adventure says here, TJ, I believe you may have the absolute worst person I've ever seen at predictions. Edmonton's going to win. Edmonton's still winning. They had their flaws, and they just were, many. Tommy B.
We'll see what players Florida is able to keep. I suspect Bennett will return on a big deal, though. I think Bennett and Ekblad will be the 2 guys they keep. Yeah. They're not going to sign Marchand back, particularly if it's like $8.5 million per. He looks like Toronto. He smells Toronto for me.
Dale says here, but TJ, why would you why would you try to get Hagens at 8? I think if he's a guy to where he just had a down year being the youngest guy in college, he's got chemistry with one of our top tier prospects now, and we think that we can continue to see the growth in the right direction. I think it's rolling the dice on a guy like that. I do. No problem with it. Yeah.
Not me. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, why would Marchand want to go to Toronto? Money. I think they'll throw silly money at him.
Does Florida remind you of the Dynasty Islanders?
They do. They do.
Oh,
they absolutely do.
But no, they don't.
They absolutely do. They absolutely do. Can play any style, buttoned up defensively. They don't have a team like Tampa Bay had a team of they had a bunch of superstars on their team, right? 5 Hall of Famers. 5 Hall of Famers.
Tampa in their prime would have fucking killed this Florida team.
Okay. So
murdered them.
Okay. So 5 Hall of Famers, the Islanders had Hall of Famers, but mostly a lunch pail type team. That's what Florida is. Florida's really good. You cannot diminish their success. Sorry. Next comment, please.
Simple. That Tampa team was better than the Florida team.
That wasn't the question. What would you even know, first of all? You don't know.
That Tampa team is better than the Florida team. Just is.
Okay. Leo Santos goes, who is the Islanders' best two-way forward? My vote goes to Holmstrom. I disagree with that. Who do you think is the best two-way forward? I think it's easy.
I'd say Bo Horvat.
Yep, Bo Horvat for certain.
As much as I don't like Bo Horvat, and I thought his lack of production is not enough for what he gets paid, Bo Horvat's the best two-way forward on our team right now.
100% agree.
You win Stanley Cups, you're an automatic Hall of Famer, says Matthew S. here.
Back-to-backs for certain.
Jeremy Ford.
I love the play of Lindell and Losterrainen. Yeah, they're great. They're really good. Their depth is so good. And
They drafted well. They draft well too. Florida drafts well.
They made a lot of free agent acquisitions, low cost free agent acquisitions and trades. They don't have a whole lot of guys who were drafted by that team. I think they showed 5 or 6 guys.
Lundell was drafted, right? Anton Lundell was drafted.
I don't know. They had a lot. They showed a thing yesterday. They showed the whole layout of how the team was built.
He was drafted 12th overall by the Florida Panthers in 2020.
Okay. Well, he might have been one of those guys. I know they had a lot of guys who were UFAs. And I'll tell you what, Dale Talon before him and Bill Zito have done an excellent job bringing in the right free agents to fit what this team does and the direction of the team. Very good job. Yep. Bed and Blanket says Islanders in 7 versus the Panthers next year, maybe the Carolina Panthers. But honestly, we aren't even in the same galaxy as the Panthers or the Oilers for that matter. It is shameful that Lou could gaslight the fans to think we had a shot. I agree.
No chance. No chance.
Ben Blanket also adds, we're years away from being anywhere near that team. Everyone will have to retire before we can be the best. Yeah, we got a long way to go. I don't like when the new general manager comes and say, well, this is a playoff team. Dude, you're deluding yourself. The fan base has been lied to for how many years? Eventually, they just don't believe you. I'm at that point already.
Who's going to beat Florida next year?
Maybe. I mean, okay, it's a long way to go. And who knows what's going to happen in the offseason. I think Toronto, if they get the right pieces, could compete with them. I think Florida needs to be better. You don't want to play Tampa in the first round. Tampa's still damn good. I don't think there's
Carolina take the next step.
No, I just don't think. I don't think anyone really wants to sign for Carolina. Mitch Marner would be a good signing for them. He fits what they do. They're going to have turnover on defense this year. Is the Niskanen kid going to be ready to step up and take those minutes from Burns? Probably not. He's probably still a year or two away from being dynamic, but he's a really good player, really physical, good shot. That's a good move for them. They have money, but they could really use a Mitch Marner on that team. They tried to acquire him at the deadline. He said no.
It's worth saying Niskanen, he'll be 24 at the start of next year. I think he could definitely step in and take the minutes. 24-year-old, absolutely, they're fine.
I don't think he's that old. I think you're mistaken.
He was drafted in 2020 in a 3rd-round pick. He was born on October 2nd of 2001, so he will be 24 years old at the start of next season.
Okay. He's good.
Yes.
I thought he looked good in the playoffs.
Only played 4 games too.
Okay, right. And against Florida, I thought he looked good. But you're talking about 24 minutes a game.
The issue is goal for them. They don't have a goalie.
Yeah, that's true. They signed Freddie Anderson back for another 1-year extension. There's not a whole lot of great goalies on the market this year. Jake Allen is like the best goaltender on the market.
It's not good.
It's not good.
They don't have a goalie. That's the biggest issue for them. They haven't addressed it. They need to address it via trade, in my opinion.
I think Freddie Anderson's a good goalie, but he can't stay healthy. That's his biggest.
No, he's a shitty goalie. You've got so many draft picks that you acquired through the Rantanen and the Stankoven trade. Time to shell out maybe a 1st rounder or 2 and get yourself a bona fide goalie. You're going to be an unstoppable force then.
I just think that's just ridiculous saying that he's a shit goalie. He's not a shit goalie. Is he?
Freddie Anderson is a bad goalie.
Okay. What do his numbers say? It doesn't say shit goalie.
I'll pull Freddie Anderson here.
Yeah, please.
What do you think his numbers are?
I think his numbers are probably pretty good.
Oh, this year he had an .899 save percentage and
what's his goals against?
What are his
goals against?
250 goals against average.
Career-wise. But he's hurt all the time. His issue is he's hurt all the time. Can't stay
Career
on
goals against is at 256.
Okay. That's pretty damn good.
He doesn't face any shots. He's not the goal. He's at 35 years old, 36 years old. He'll be next year. He's a shit goalie.
Oh, he's not a shit goalie.
He's not getting better.
I didn't say he's getting better at his age. I'm just saying his biggest issue is he could never stay healthy. He had really good
save percentage and a 250 goals against average, and now he's 36. He's not getting any better. He's just getting worse.
Okay, but that doesn't mean he's a shit goalie. Doesn't mean he's a shit goalie.
$8.99 is not good.
Jerry Ford Hamlet says maybe Tampa, but I don't think so. Yeah,
Tampa's done.
I don't think they're done. I
They're
don't think they're done. I disagree. I don't think they're good enough to beat Florida, but I don't think they're done. Rick Roma says, I think Ekblad is good, but Forsling really helped them. Those two are much better as a pair than they are as individuals. I mean, Forsling, another underrated defenseman for them. Yeah, they're good. They're good. I think Ekblad comes back as well. I do. I think they lose Marchand, but they keep the other two. Brandon Gaines says, hello, TJ. I already sent it on Twitter, but I would like to once again remind you that Mario owns McDavid, and it ain't even close. It's true.
Oh, shot.
100% true.
David.
100% true. 100% true. 100%.
Brian John says, Noah Dobson sucks. Darnell Nurse was terrible on that third goal. Absolutely.
Yeah, terrible. He makes $9.5 million a year, too, Darnell Nurse.
Bouchard couldn't lace Dobson's skates, says Leo Santos.
He was horrible. Horrible.
That's a ridiculous deal for Frederick. Todd Peterson.
Todd Peterson says, Bouchard turned the corner, but then took a step back, so it's pick him with Dobson. Frederick a la Engvall. Yeah, that's what I – and here's the thing, but I think Frederick is even – the deal is worse because it's an extra year and it's an extra $1 million per. Dobson is better than Bouchard. He just is. If you put Dobson, if you switch those two players, everyone in the Islander fan base would hate Evan Bouchard and think Noah Dobson's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Remember, Noah Dobson plays for the frickin' lowly Islanders. He plays with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. That's the difference.
Drew says, hello, TJ. I sadly won't be there. I won't be here long unless if somehow I can connect to playing Wi-Fi. But since I believe this is your last Islanders Never Say Die show, I just wanted to tell you that I'll miss you. Now guide SunX. No, we're doing one Sunday, Drew. So we'll see you Sunday.
TJ will not guide SunX. I think he subconsciously wants SunX to fail so he can puff up his head can be even bigger than it is now.
So 2 shows remaining. This is my second to last show. What level of commitment did you see from X tonight to be a part of the show? Star comments to incorporate himself in the show. What level of commitment did you see from X tonight?
I suggested X come on the show today to introduce himself to everyone on the podcast. The people who've never seen him on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show. And TJ said, no. That's what he said. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, you need a
really quickly. You didn't say just introduce him. You said to be on the show tonight. He doesn't even, he can't even commit to star comments. I mean, the guy's just half-assing it.
Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, you need a 4-line team plus Black Aces, 8 defensemen to make it through the playoffs. The Oilers and Leafs just don't have that. The recipe for a few stars doesn't get the job done in a team sport, not in hockey. Hockey is a real, and here's the thing, I didn't think the playoffs were really good this year in the NHL. I didn't think they were great top to bottom.
Rick Roma says here the NHL has to plan around the NBA Finals so that they can go ahead. So that they don't go head to head, and that's why they were getting the extra day off. I blame the NBA.
There's been days when neither team played, and I don't even know. I don't know.
Father's Day, for example.
Is the NBA playing today or is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, well then guess what? The NHL wouldn't have played today either. See what I mean? Drew says, and then there's the Russian kid from the KHL who put up 67 points in 65 games. Apparently, we're the front runners to get him as of now.
Maxim Shabanov.
And he weighs like 154 pounds. If you're drafting him, why would you look at
He's not a draft. He's a free agent.
If you're signing him as a free agent, why would you be drafting James Hagens? They're very similar in skill set.
Why would you not pick up this kid?
I'm just saying he's 154 pounds. That's awful. That's awful light. I mean, that's mighty small. Would you not agree? He's 5 foot.
He's 5'8". 5'8".
That's probably on skates too. And 154 pounds? Holy crap. I mean, that's small. That's tiny.
I've got no problem if that's a guy that we pick up for nothing.
I don't have a problem if they sign him. I don't. But I'm just saying, man, he's small. That's all I'm saying. He better
I'm willing to give him a chance.
He's better be an electric skater with quicks, because if he gets body checked, he's done. He's not. That guy's not going to be able to get. How do you think he would handle a board battle against Tampa or against Florida?
You don't know if he's tough or rat like. How big?
154 pounds.
How big do you think Brad Marchand is?
Brad Marchand's what, 5'8", but he's 200 pounds.
No, he's not 200 pounds. Please stop.
He's built like a brick shithouse, Brad Marchand.
He's 5'9", 180 pounds.
He weighs more than 180.
He's listed 5'9", 180 pounds. He's not that big.
Does he ever get hit? Is he taking a bunch of shots?
How do you know this other guy's going to take shots? You're speaking at your ass again.
I just said he better have wheels and have quicks, because otherwise he's going to get 154 pounds ain't 180. Okay? It's not even close. Wickerman 7979 says, Grumpy, I never knew they played back-to-back games in the Cup. Did they do that in other sports too? They certainly did in baseball. I think they still do it in baseball, don't they? Yeah, but and they did in the NBA too. Way back though. When the Islanders winning cups, there was a time I think they played 4 games in 5 days.
Rick Roma says here, if the Bruins trade the 7th overall pick for Jean-Gabriel Pageau, there should be mass firings in Boston.
That's
not Peterson.
Dobson and Bouchard would be an interesting mix if they work off each other's positives and get tough. Pelican Pulak in the good old days. Okay, you don't need Bouchard, first of all. You're going to have Matthew Schaefer. Tommy Baffy says, add 10 pounds for Marchand's nose.
I would agree. So, really, I think their weight's actually pretty close.
It's a big nose.
Okay, let me get back to it. Okay, DLS.
How tough to make the NHL Hall of Fame? Example, MLB is real hard. Only the best of the best make it. NFL, good players make it in. It's tougher to judge.
There's only so many guys. Less players make into the NHL Hall of Fame every year than it is like the NFL. NFL, though, guys have a shorter lifespan.
And it's tougher to really gauge how good certain positions are. It's really tough. You don't see a whole lot of offensive linemen or, defensive linemen getting the Hall of Fame unless you're a sack guy. Just don't see a whole lot of those guys. Drew says, Evander Kane's wallet also hates Evander Kane too. Did somebody say gambling in casinos?
He does like gambling. Rick Roma.
Kane was allowed to be on the handshake line. He chose not to. Kane's has always been a head case, though. Absolutely.
Do we like the management hire? Says Brian Jennings. He's got potential. I mean, tough to say.
Better than nothing.
As you mentioned.
Better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
That's the name of the New York Islanders. Better than nothing. That's going to be the team slogan when they're trying to sell season tickets. 2025-26 season, the New York Islanders, better than nothing. That's where we're at right now. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, is it the character of the players like that is the underlying difference between winning teams and teams that can't win at all? I think in some instances, yes.
He said it is character players like that.
Oh, okay.
The underlying difference. I think so. If they have a negative impact on the locker room, but again, but they had a lot more that they needed probably. Gungun says his bonus going to make a difference. Well, Darche soon show his brilliance.
I'll go with no and no on that.
I hope both. I hope both will do that.
I hope so too. I just don't think it will. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says Toronto isn't the second best team. They just have more high-end players than the Oilers. Toronto is not a team. Players screaming at their teammates on the bench the way 16 did is not a team. Well, that's the reason why 16 is going to be gone, right? Drew adds, I'm curious how much money Sam Bennett is going to make on the open market. I doubt he's re-signing with Florida because it'll be too expensive for them. I think he will sign with Florida, and he's going to give them a little bit of a hometown discount. Why would you go anywhere else, honestly? Jeremy Ford adds, why would Bennett sign anywhere else? I agree. What could a team offer that Florida can? Remember, it also helps that they have no state income tax. That really helps those Florida teams get players to go there. Gungun says, are the Orioles now cursed? Will the Islanders number one pick quench our thirst? No, you know what I thought was the dumbest? This is like James Hagens, draft him because he likes the Islanders take. Connor McDavid was going to win the Stanley Cup because Wayne Gretzky lost the cup the year before and they won the next year. And Sidney Crosby lost the cup in his first time in the finals and he won the second year. So that means Connor McDavid is going to do it too. That's the same dumb type of take.
Nobody said that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People were saying we showed it on the show. We showed it on the show.
It was to show a comparison. They
And
said when you look at some
that's
all-time
why he's
greats,
winning.
when you look at some all-time greats, it wasn't that. You're just you're
That's
continuing
what
to
people were
lead in
saying.
something.
That's what
Nobody
people
was
were
saying
saying.
that, but
They
that's
were
okay.
saying that.
Nobody was saying that. Jeremy Ford Hamlet.
Paula Marchand makes $6.125 million and wins some more cups. If I was GM, I'd put that number on the table in front of Marner and ask him to give me 63 reasons why he should earn more. Well, he's a lot younger. He's going to get paid. He just is. Mitch Marner's a good player. He just is. Michael T goes, good evening, gents. Good to see you both. And TJ, I've requested this once before, but I would very much like to see you play the Charlie Brown theme song on your piano, please.
Well, tough. I can't play it. I don't know how to play the piano. Coach Tommy B says Rosner said he expects most announcements to happen after the draft.
Okay. I guess he's talking about with what's going on in the front office is the only thing I can think. Freedom Front Adventure goes, Brad Marchand is not a better trade deadline pick than Goring. I disagree. That's recency bias. The Panthers were already Stanley Cup champs. Marchand helped them repeat with good play. Goring helped them win first. Brad Marchand absolutely impressed the hell out of me in this playoff run, more than he ever has.
Dallas says, agree. Move Lee and Pajot at the deadline. Teams overpay at the deadline. Yep. Michael T says here, is it possible we could trade Dobson for the number 4 overall pick? Then we could draft a defenseman at number 1 overall and grab the Hawpaw kid, number 4. That would be a good future. No?
No.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen, Michael T. No shot. Google says, which shitty New York sports franchise will win a championship first? The Islanders, Mets, Jets, or Nets? Mets.
I think the Mets.
Brian John says he's a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins type player. About James Hagens.
He ain't as big as him.
Todd Peterson.
TJ again, yeah. Last year was
again, yeah.
What?
Taj, I believe, or Tej, or Taj. I think it was Taj again, yeah. Whatever. TJ again, yeah. However it is.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Was a high pick due to pedigree and a good season, but this year he saw a decline. I think he's a waiver player in time, and I think the same is the case with Hagens. Yeah, some guys develop, sometimes peak earlier, and they don't develop. They don't go any further. Who knows? Okay. We don't know yet.
Iginla only played 21 games this last year and had 32 points. It was a plus 18. Tough to say. He had a bad year. I think it was more the injury that did him in. Peter Alves, Grump.
TJ, next year is supposed to be a deeper draft, more opportunity for higher level talent. Why would you give away next year's first rounder? No way Grumps is right. Hagens is dropping. No way Grumps is right. Hagens is dropping. Okay.
TJ, I think Grumpy is losing it over the number 1 crush, James Hagens. I think so too. How would you compare Holmstrom to Luosterainen?
Luosterainen is way better. Come on. Way better. Freedom
Front Adventure says Florida's a well-constructed team, talent, speed, skill, toughness, a good barometer to measure the Islanders against. Florida doesn't even have a great defense, but they play such great team defense. Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
The number 1 guy who buys in to the team defense style that Florida projects is their best player, Alexander Barkov. When you get buy-in from your number 1 player, everybody else falls in line. Reinhart is a good defensive forward. Carter Verhaeghe, Brad Marchand, all of them come back and play defense. They're really good. Steve Erickson says, if Noah Dobson won't go below $11 million per season, what would you still keep him? He's not going to get paid $11 million a season.
No, I don't think so either. And all joking aside, he may get paid $10 million, he may get paid a little less. I think it's going to be somewhere around that area. Maybe it's 9 and change. I just don't see him getting less than $9 million. And no way. If he signs a long-term deal, he get paid less than 9.
When you see guys, like I said, I think the barometer for him is Bouchard. I think he and Bouchard very, very similar in what the numbers are going to get.
Jeremy says here, no way I'd give Dobson, if he could ask for $11 million, I'd offer him a bridge of 2 years, 6.5 to 7 point. If he took a bridge, he's looking at probably like $8 million.
He's not taking a bridge. He's 1 year from free agency. Why would he take a bridge deal?
Yeah. I just take a 1-year contract and then say, okay, I'm walking and I'll sign a long-term deal someplace else.
Yeah.
And then you're trading away at the deadline for you're missing out on probably the most gifted offensive defenseman we've had in years. So Drew, grumpy.
I thought TJ was supposed to be me schizo.
He's supposed to be the schizo spiraling. What's Grumpy going to say next? They're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats. Yeah, Grumpy schizo spiraled earlier today, all over the place. Very odd for Grumpy. God. Hagens is 100% better than a late first-round pick in 2026. I agree.
But who says Colorado is going to be as good as they were last year? That's my point. We don't know.
Good.
Is it hockey season yet? Did DiPietro ever express regret? What, for making all that money on the contract? I don't blame him. Taking every penny. Got somebody dumb enough to offer to you, absolutely sign it.
Ben Blanket says getting Hagens will be the worst decision this franchise has made since not trading Tavares. Oh,
I agree.
You gotta calm down. That's what I mean.
100% agree.
We found Grumpy's alternate.
I'd rather sign the kid from Russia than draft James Hagens.
Why don't they just do both? Do both.
Because you don't need two guys who play the same game.
Oh, we don't need two guys with a lot of skill on this team. We're loaded with skill, guys. You're just pathetic. Okay. If you can get guys, okay.
You can't have two of those guys on the same line. Can't play two of those guys on the same line.
Maybe one works out, maybe one doesn't.
No one will go in the corner to get the damn puck. Might as well just turn it over.
Yeah.
Michael
allergic to skill.
What about trading Dobson for the number 2 pick? Why are we trading Dobson for the number 2 pick overall? Then we have the number 1 and number 2 overall picks, so we can draft the defenseman number 1 and the best forward number 2. Why? No, you don't trade a guy.
He's just messing with you.
Oh, I don't know if he's messing with me. People serious.
I think he's just messing with you, Grump.
Okay.
And you just feed right into it.
That's fine.
I would maybe trade Dobson, get assists, plus free up a lot of money. Get picks, maybe is what I meant to say.
Assets. I think you probably had assets.
Trade Dobson for next year's number 1 and for 2 firsts next year and prospect.
I don't think many teams have 2 number 1s next year.
Goon.
Was Darcy Tucker a mean-spirited man? Should spitting in sports be banned? I don't think they look highly on spitting in sports. And Darcy Tucker, he had a little edge to him, for certain he did. Jeremy Ford Hamlet says, what would San Jose have to add to flip picks and walk away with Misa plus? They'd have to give me next year's number 1 pick with no no lottery protection. That I would do. Drop a spot. Okay, we get Misa. We miss out on the best player, but now we got to pick guaranteed to be in the top 10 next year, guaranteed. Plus our own number 1, plus Colorado's number 1, and whatever. And we could package a bunch up and maybe get McKenna. Who knows? Gungun says, TJ, is it possible that if you weren't so anti-rock and roll, you wouldn't be stepping away from the show? Should Darche just go with the flow? Well, he's already going with the flow.
I think Darche should start causing ripples. That's what
he's just like a guy like on a little raft. Whatever way the wind blows, the way he goes.
By the way, so Colorado's pick is top 10 protected next year. So if Colorado's shitty and they've got a top 10 pick, Colorado keeps the pick, we get to 2027.
Okay. I don't think they're going to be that shitty, but I could see them dropping.
There you go. So
I could see them maybe that pick being number 20.
Oh, okay. So the 20th overall selection and a player is not worth Hagens. Gotcha.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Freedom for the Venture goes, TJ and Grumpy, does Florida clearly demonstrate why the Islanders need to become more physical and tough? This team is so soft, it's hard to watch. Grumpy, you change your predictions every podcast. Well, that's my right.
He does change his predictions every podcast. But yes, they do need to be, I think, tougher, faster, everything. I agree with TJ. Let Duclair ride the Greyhound in the ECHL if he wants to play hockey, if he's got such an issue. Yeah, I mean, you can make it hell on him. Yeah. Conform, be a team player, or it's going to be really tough on you.
I wish we had a tougher coach.
I'm going to run the restroom. I'll be back.
All right. Barry Richmond says the reason Grumpy has the take he has on Darche is the assumption he's not going to be different. You're jaded regardless of what they do. I agree with that, Barry. I am jaded. I get that's your stick. I'm as skeptical as any veteran fan, but to not wait and see the team, what the team does is just plain ridiculous and bitter. Darche has few options with this current team. The Holy Trinity, Buddha, and Allah could have been hired, and Grumpy would say we suck. Nothing has happened yet, and WTF, it's over the top. Okay. We're not changing anything in our front office. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing in the coaching staff. That was Patrick Waugh. And it doesn't look like we're going to do anything during the draft except make our draft picks. I don't think we're trading up to get Hagens. What's the change in direction when you have the same group underneath Mathieu Darche? And I still stand by no self-respecting GM was taking that job. None. All the guys who had that position before all said no to the Islanders. It's not like they were offered it. It's not like the Islanders turned them down. They did not want the job. Brendan Shanahan just said no. He wouldn't even interview. He was like, because they all knew what the task was. I don't blame that on Mathieu Darche, but I don't think that's a reason why we're saying he's going to that he's going to succeed. And yeah, I can make assumptions on him. Absolutely. I don't think he did anything in Tampa. Nothing in Tampa. That was all Breezebois. So I didn't mind him coming as GM if you had an established hockey ops guy to come in and really run the show. I didn't have a problem with that. The problem I have with Mathieu Darche is giving him the keys to the whole car. That I absolutely did not want. Because in my opinion, he hadn't earned it. And that's where I stand on him.
All righty, here we go. Grumpy literally craps on every move the team makes. Nothing pleases him. I agree.
Name a good move. Tell me a good move. Tell me a good move.
It's tough to know if Darche is a good move or bad move yet.
Okay.
And you're automatically jumping to bad.
Tell me the last time we made a really good move. Can you tell me?
Well, I think the move of trading Nelson, the result was a good result. Now, how we got to that result, I don't like. I think it was a good result. Correct.
Okay. But okay, so was that a move that our organizational team made, or Brock Nelson just telling us I'm not?
I think firing Lou Lamoriello was a good move.
Okay. All right, fine. That was a good move. I'll go. And
That's the most recent good move.
I was for that. So I was for that. So I was not against every move. I was for that one.
You are automatically being very negative towards Darche.
This team has been predominantly a loser for the last 30 plus years, right? Let's be honest. But the organization's been a loser for 30 plus years. I don't know what else you have to see. Doesn't matter who the ownership group is. Doesn't matter who the GM is. Doesn't matter who the coach is. It's a loser organization. And when fans try to just explain, just rationalize why the team is a loser, I have no patience for that. I don't. Jeremy Ford goes, if all Darche does is draft 7 players and put in a few bids for RSAs and pick up nothing, then I'd say it's a lackluster start to a new vision for the team. Chris Lamoriello needs to go too. Yeah. I mean, they're limited with how much money they have. And here's the thing. If they don't make any moves at the deadline, at the draft, it wouldn't surprise me. I think they should wait until the deadline. What I don't want to see is us trying to re-sign back Anders Lee. I just can't deal with that. I just can't deal with that.
I don't want that either.
I mean, they got Mathieu Darche, but it seems like everything else is status quo. But I think that's very fair for me to say that. Very fair.
It's tough, though. I think Freedom Front Adventure does a good job here. It says, Grumpy, are you interested in a job? I'm interested in hiring you. You can't watch TV. That rules pretty much Grumpy out immediately. While working, oof, Grumpy can't take the job then. And I demand immediate results starting on day 1.
Yep, I can do that.
No, we can't do that.
Absolutely.
Can't do anything without watching TV. Here you go.
What are we doing with Varlamov? I think we need a better backup than him. Any goalies out there? If Varlamov is healthy, I think he's fine as a backup, but I don't think he's healthy.
Yeah. I don't think he'll ever play.
They still got 2 more years in his contract left because of the deal that Lamoriello signed him to. Freedom Front goes, TJ, why are you giving up more value for Hagens than he's worth? I bet you barely watched Hagens. He isn't much. He's not. I've been watching him because here's the thing. I've stopped watching Schaefer. He's obviously the best. So I said, let me look at Hagens because everyone's talking about getting Hagens. I'm like, I just don't see giving up a whole lot for him. He's small. He plays small. That's all.
You know, when you're the consensus #1 overall guy and you had a rough first year in college because you're the youngest college player in the entire, and in all of college, you know what? I'm willing to say.
Is that even true? Is that even true? You're just making that up.
He was. No, that's what Phil said. I trust Phil's not making shit up. I don't think Phil ever makes shit up.
Phil makes shit up all the time. How many times do you catch him lying about shit?
TJ, you do realize Hagens may never be as good as Romanoff is right now.
It's a possibility. Think about instead of trading for Romanov, we could have drafted Frank Nazar, that solves our. We wouldn't need James Hagens because we'd have Frank Nazar as our number 2 center, who was damn good for Chicago this year. I don't know.
Yeah, he played for them. He was like a point every other game, and in the AHL affiliate, he was more than a point a game guy for them this year too.
There you go. For Chicago, that shitty team.
If I had Ehlers in my back pocket, then I'd move Pajot, Romanoff, and Holmstrom for Hagens. That's a lot.
Ehlers is going to get a lot of money. He's going to get a lot.
Hagens would be lucky to be a top 20 pick in 2026. This is the thing. It's such a hard one to determine. You're either going to be way off or very right with these Hagens predictions.
I will be interested to see what who's the guy who does the commentary for Hockey Night in Canada. He's their big draft guy at the end. He's more of he's in touch with what GMs are thinking. What the heck's his name? Every year he's on the draft show. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name.
What, Craig Button?
No, not Craig Button. Crap. I can see his face. I just can't remember his name. He's more in touch with what GMs are talking when he puts out his final. Oh, these are my rankings. So I can't remember his name. It drives me crazy. He's been there forever. Mackenzie.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Mackenzie. When he puts out his that you can see where Hagens is going to get drafted. He's usually really spot on with that.
Okay, let's see here. He's a bum. He's a crappy captain. I liked him. I do for many reasons, but he is one that just wants to keep the party going and not win. His Islanders don't defend each other, or the rookie, they don't win, etc.
I don't think he's a bum captain. I think he's a good captain. I just don't think he's a great player. They should have moved him. You could have got a first-round pick for him at last year's deadline. You could have. Drew says, disagree, TJ. Paul Maurice changed up Florida's style to a more balanced-minded team rather than being offense-only, giving up a lot of goals. He's a great coach and will be a Hall of Famer. Agree, Drew.
Gupping TJ, what does the fact that Boston, Chicago, and Utah are actively trying to get out of their first-round picks scream of the quality of the players available, not named Schaefer or Misa?
Bingo. That's it in a nutshell.
Could be.
No, that's why people trade out of those spots, because they're like, these guys are okay. 2026 is a year to be in the first round. That's the year to be in the first round.
Remember when Barkov was selected by Florida? He was not, or was it Huberdeau? One of the guys they took a major reach on. Florida did. It was like, oh my God, they went well off the board on this one.
No.
If maybe it was Huberdeau.
Huberdeau. No, Huberdeau was projected to go number 3, and that's where he went.
No.
Barkov was projected to go 4, and he wound up going 2 after McKinnon. He was projected to go 4. He went 2, and that wound up working out pretty good. Florida knows what they're doing. And Huberdeau had a huge 17-year-old year with the Sea Dogs, and he rocketed up the charts to number 3. And that reminds me of what Misa did, actually. Really did. Freedom for the Venture goes, TJ Hagens is no sure thing. If the Islanders did get a second first rounder this year, I'd have loads of players. I prefer sizzle chest. You are built like Noah Dobson. Wow, that's bold. No, TJ is not built like Noah Dobson. I'll stick up for you there. TJ's not.
I'm not built. Noah Dobson's skinny guy.
Drew says, you're right, TJ. You're about to start your Hall of Fame career as a father.
I'm trying to listen back through here to see the Huberdeau Barkov selections. Give me a sec.
That's fine. The Wicked 50 cal. Yes, I would. I see his upside between Logan Cooley and Jack Hughes. He has a phenomenal chemistry with Yzerman as well. That's who Scott Wheeler compared him to as a lesser Jack Hughes, but like a talent level of Logan Cooley. I mean, we don't even know about Logan Cooley. Will he be good? He's more physical. That much I know. Gungun says, TJ, if you get elected to the Hockey Broadcasting Hall of Fame, will you make a special appearance or will you express some resistance?
I don't think the Hockey Hall of Fame is inviting me in. If they did, maybe I could. Maybe I can come back to say hello if I made the Hockey Hall of Fame, a Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
There you go.
I think I can do that. Mr. B says, gents, may have lost interest in the Islanders had not been for this podcast. Good luck, TJ. Thanks, Mr. B. Appreciate it, my friend. TJ, did you not Google your mind when every guy the Islanders hire pretty much and often traded for was a former Devil? Does it not boggle your mind that a small kid from Long Island is a guy the Islanders will try maybe to draft instead of the best player available? I just don't think that's going to be the case. New GM. Just don't think it's going to be the case.
Okay. Wicked 50 Cal says, and I'm sorry, with that Colorado pick, we would very likely not be able to draft a player comparable to Hagens. But here's the thing, if you acquire a couple, you can move up higher in that draft. You don't have to draft 4 guys. You can get 2 guys inside the top 10, which makes you better. Just does.
That's right.
Says, yeah, TJ, bring Hagens home.
That's right. First overall pick, Hagens is going to be
It's like, let's invest the number 1 draft pick in Tommy Cutlets for the Giants because guess what? He lives right next by Giants Stadium. He's always been a Giants fan. He's the guy. He's our guy. Just stop.
You're Grumpy.
Drew says, I will say I love how confident Grumpy is without getting any sort of information. Dude must have a God complex that only narcissists can dream of. Drew, when I'm right, which I always am.
Oh, my gosh.
I want you to come back and apologize. That's all. Tommy Baffy says, TJ, we will all miss you. I have to watch Sunday's show to see it one more time. May have to call in too.
Thanks, Coach Tommy B. Drew says here, I think Darche should fire Patrick Wall and hire Paul Maurice just to piss TJ off.
I think that's a good idea.
That's just blind hate, in my opinion. This is Wicked 50 Cal. Maurice has been the right coach for Florida. Hard to argue that. Yep, I agree. Yep. Here you go. Bunnyberg Curtis.
TJ, I'm going to freaking miss you, man. You got to pop in every now and again. He's allowed to comment in. That's it. If we do a call-in show, he can call in. I think that'd be fair. I don't think we'll do a call-in show. So, Freedom Fund Adventure goes, sure, Grumpy, but you would want to change direction day one. You want all questions answered immediately, and you go doomsday day scenario when you lack answers. Don't believe Darche now. It's lying season. Okay, let's see. So far, I've been underwhelmed with the direction or lack thereof that the Islanders have taken on since the offseason began. That's all. That's all I'm saying. He's going to have to do a lot to change that for me. He's done nothing so far. He hired Rick Bonus's kid, who was just shit-canned by Ottawa. Probably we signed him because they don't have to pay his contract because Ottawa's still paying it. Okay. We want to make sure we got money for Fredo. We're not cutting them loose. We're getting rid of the radio staff, save $300,000. Okay. Doesn't sound like they're pension pennies to me, right? We'll see. Arthur Kostler says, have you ever heard about any of the players or the Ralph Macchios or Kevin Connolly watching your show? Probably not. I think the players are not allowed to listen to our show. Might sour their opinion like, holy shit, yeah. All this stuff they say is right. Lamoriello is a piece of shit. Yeah. No idea. We're a little bit too negative for, or at least I've been a little bit too negative on this show for randos. Sorry. Tommy Babbitt says, will Sunx be a star now that TJ is letting him get out of his shadow? TJ hopes against that. He hopes against it. He prays against it.
That's it. If Varlamov is number 40. Okay, gotcha. That's why I couldn't tell him, like, who the hell is number 40? He was gone all last year. It's Farley.
It's so long since he played.
Yep.
Farley's number 40.
JK.
If I can remember to call, I hope to have a special guest call in on Sunday. Very good. Thank you, Jake.
Thanks, TJ. Any thoughts on Dobson? Gonna get paid. He signed a long-term deal. He's gonna get paid. Simple as that. You go.
You cannot let him just sign a 1-year deal, though. You cannot have a repeat of John Tavares. Cannot let it happen. Cannot let it happen. Tommy Barry says Florida made Nate Smith into a good player again. Exactly. He'd fallen off the end of the earth. But why was he so good? He was playing limited minutes as, bottom pairing defenseman. And he bought in defensively. That's not what he was, but he absolutely bought in to play defense. Good for Nate Schmidt. Happy he won a cup. John A says Florida had 6 different players score over 20 points in this year's playoffs. Only the 83 Islanders and 85 Oilers had the same amount. Crazy to think they aren't a juggernaut. Exactly. They're balanced. That's what makes them so good. And they were one. Who was it? Was who's the not Listerainen? Who's the other guy with the L? The third line center had
Lundell
had 19 points, so he was one away from setting the record with 7 players with 20 points in the postseason. JP says, I agree with TJ on Freddie Anderson. Can't trust him. He sucks when you need him the most. That's fair.
Okay. It was Barkov. I've got it pulled up. When Barkov was selected, the consensus was Seth Jones, by the way, at that selection. And you look at it and they talk about it. It's like, whoa, listen to the crowd. And like, well, I'm not going to say Barkov can't be a player, but they definitely didn't pick who they should have or who they're penciled in to select at this spot. He was
supposed to be 4th, was where he was supposed to get picked. And he got picked 2nd. And you know what? They wanted to get him both guys anyway.
What's my thing, though? Like, again, just because you pick a guy where it's like, oh, man, we didn't pick him, he's penciled in. Like, if you trust the scouting staff, they hit the pick.
You trust the Islanders scouting staff?
Not really.
Do you trust? Okay, then thank you very much. See, there's your difference right there.
Well, maybe the scouting staff gives them a list of information, and the GM's job is to decipher what they like from it. And now that we got a different GM in charge, we may start getting the right picks. I don't know.
I said Dale Talon did a good job. They had the Rowe guy. Tom Moreau was in there for 1 year. He was all about analytics. And after 1 year, they're like, nope. They bounced him after a year. They brought Talon back. And then after Talon, it was Bill Zito. And they've been really good. They've been really good. Give Dale Talon credit.
Tell me if you can hear this, by the way.
So he goes against Titan.
Yes.
Okay.
And he takes the big man in the middle.
Well, I'm not saying Barkov won't be a player because he's got the potential to be a very solid player, but to pass on Seth Jones when you're the Florida Panthers and you do not have an overwhelming array of defensive depth, I think this pick will be questioned for a few years until Barkov can prove that he's a home run player.
And again, like that, I did remember that. I couldn't remember if it was Huberdeau or Barkov, and like we continue to let him play, but like he definitely is like, oh, it's going to be a question selection. Oh, how do you leave Seth Jones on the board at number 2 overall?
And that commentator was Craig Button, not Bill McKenzie.
Don't know. Couldn't tell you based off of that.
JP says, Grumpy, I know you'll probably dismiss what I'm saying. Okay. But I think it's been shown that that Jesus of Nazareth, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky, Guy Lafleur, and Mike Bossy could all sign with Toronto. Okay. I don't think any of them did, though, did they? JP says, Grumpy and TJ, look at the bright side. If next year's slogan is 2026 is better than nothing, they can use oh well for 26-27. Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I think the biggest year for the Islanders is next offseason. I think that's the big one.
Tim Ward said Barry Zito pitched for the Oakland Athletics. Yes, he did. Many years ago. It's just like when I kept saying Barry Zito, I'm like, Barry Zito. I don't know why the name's coming. I'm like, pitcher for the Oakland Athletics.
He even won a Cy Young for them.
Barry Zito was a damn good pitcher, but the injuries hurt Barry Zito.
The A's were always able to develop pitchers.
Pitchers, batters. They had a whole lot of really good batters too.
Matthew Carbone says Isaac Howard would like to get him. I hear the Rangers are looking at him. I don't know. Would you? I mean, I'd roll the dice on him. All he costs is money, right? But like I said, the thing that worries me about Isaac Howard is why are you saying no to the Tampa Bay organization? I don't understand that. It's not like they're a crap. It's not like they're, San Jose or Chicago or whoever. I mean, they're Tampa Bay. I don't know. The Wicked Cal, 50 Cal says, TJ is spot on tonight. Too bad this is one of his last shows. Go out on a banger.
There it is. Well, I'll have one more show. We'll do Sunday, but it won't be the same sort of format. It'll be a little different. Coach Tommy B.
When Son X joins the show, does he take as many bathroom breaks as TJ? No, he does not take any bathroom breaks.
Son X kills his bladder because he doesn't drink any water. But yeah, Matthew
Carbone goes, Lamoriello definitely needs to be fired. We all agree with that. Don't see it happening.
JP.
Watch out, Grump, because McKenzie had Hagens going number 2 overall in January. January is a long time ago. That was a long time.
I'd like to see his updated list, though.
He talks to GMs. That's what he does. That's how his draft board is set.
I take it back. The first 5 updated picks for McKenzie do not include Hagens.
Okay. Like I said, I'm not surprised. He's dropped on just about everybody's board.
JLS said, Grumpy, you would have to eat half of Lee's $7 million for a first rounder. I'm fine with that.
I would do that. Absolutely.
It's only 1 year. You got 3 spots you can hold cap on like that.
Yeah. Yes. I don't care if we make the playoffs next year. Doesn't matter to me. Drew says, Grumpy, since you're always right, you say you're always right. Grumpy, since when you were always right. Oh my gosh.
Grumpy, since when were you always right? You're only about 80% right and 20% wrong. I can tell, I'll tell you one thing you're wrong already about. It's those Boston Celtics. And I was right.
We did not talk about the Boston
wrong
Celtics
about the Toronto Maple Leafs finally picked Florida. Yeah, again, Grumpy's a flip-floppy. That's why you can't listen to him when he's talking about his record. He flip-flops anytime he can.
I'm glad Florida won. That's all I have to say. Drew says, I pray for Son X's rise to stardom. I get to say that
bald-headed jerk TJ is so replaceable if he does.
Let's say
yes,
BHN.
Good luck. Yeah, I know. You comment again if you read the comment below. If you keep updated. Anyway, Thomas Rudy says here: does anybody remember what Sam Bennett was famous for at the combine? No pull-ups. Now look at him, a Finals MVP.
Was that Sam Bennett? I thought it was somebody else.
Sam Bennett. I'm sure it was.
It might be him. I don't remember. There was somebody else recently who couldn't do a pull-up either. I mean, okay, these kids are not lifting a whole bunch of weights. They're boys yet. Jan Menhart says, hey, Grumpy, the commentator was Pierre Maguire. I'm mistaken. I thought that was Craig Button. Okay, Pierre Maguire. Okay. I thought it sounded like Craig Button. My bad.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, gotcha.
Drew says, I will say, TJ, one thing you're really good at, and it's not an insult, is that I can comfortably sleep whilst listening to your voice when I'm drop dead exhausted, like I am right now from traveling. Yeah, TJ has a very soothing voice. He does.
At least no, I've got this upcoming Sunday will be the last show, State of Survival. I wish we could stick around, but I'll have to pass along my draft grade to Grumpy if anybody's interested by that point. The Wicked 50 Cal.
I had heard that Tampa was apparently screwing around with the contract language regarding arbitration eligibility or bonuses or something like that. I don't know. I mean, you sign a contract, you either sign or you don't.
Sam Bennett was Sam Bennett was the one who had 0 pull-ups at the combine.
I bet he can do more than a couple now, though.
Sam Bennett's infamous 0 pull-up moment at the 2014 NHL Draft combine. God. Oh man, yeah. Oof. Yeah, look at that. He's come a long way. Yeah, again, he's small. He's a kid. Again, this is why it's like when you draft Hagens, when they draft Hagens, probably number 1 overall. I mean, you don't have to worry about it, guys.
Hagens ain't getting any bigger. That much I could damn well tell you.
Oh, look at how small Bennett was. Look at this. Hold on a second. Let me pull that up. He's going to put a lot of weight on Hagens. Look at that. 0 pull-ups at the NHL Combine. He'll put a lot of weight on.
How many did Hagens do at this combine? Do we know?
I'll pull it up here.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how many he did.
Is that going to change your opinion? Is that why I'm looking this up for you?
No. I'm just interested how many he did. That's all. I don't know how many he did. I'm going to bet he didn't do a whole lot. But I mean, what does he weigh? What's he weigh? 115? I don't know, 120? What's he weigh?
Well, Connor Bedard did 14 pull-ups. Wow, looky there. Okay, hold on a second.
If only he was a better hockey player.
Yeah. I tell you, the Hagens kid looks a little. I don't. How much do he weigh? I'll have to pull it up there. Hagens combine results. Anyway,
I don't think he's very heavy.
Yeah,
like what,
he measured in at 5'10" and a half inch at 177.
Okay, small.
He was a top performer in pro agility, vertical jump, and no arm jump. Strength, he's the strongest left and right hand grip strength. Okay.
You know what that tells me, right?
Whacking it. Is that what you're about to say?
I didn't say you did.
Yeah. I just have a feeling.
But she doesn't have a girlfriend. Probably doesn't have a girlfriend.
He's putting the hours in. He's putting the work in. Keep up the good work, buddy. Yeah, James Hagens. Anywho, Grumpy, we are here at the end of the show today. What do you want to say before we wrap things up?
I want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't. And congratulations to the Florida Panthers for once again dispatching the Connor McDavid-led Edmonton Oilers. Love and laughter to everyone from TJ, the Grumpy Old Man, and Sunex.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the show here this evening. We'll be live with you guys this upcoming Sunday for call-in show, last show extravaganza. So, my last show extravaganza. Let me clarify. The show will go on. I will just no longer be a part of it. Thank you again, guys, for all the comments. Thank you for the engagement. Thanks so much, Grumpy X. Pick up the freaking slack, buddy. We need better effort from you. Only got a few days to go ahead and course direct there, X. Thank you, Grumpy, for being a part of the show as always. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments, and we'll see you guys on Sunday.
I think there's one less comment. I don't know if you wanted to touch on it.
What comment is that, Grump?
The Wicked 50 Cal saying Grumpy Shabanov is 5'8" and weighs 158. Meanwhile, Hagens is 5'11" and weighs 180. Well, 177. Hagens is significantly bigger than Shabanov, although they should sign Shabanov low risk, high reward deal.
Yep.
They play a very similar game, is my point.
But yes, thank you so much, guys, for watching. Thanks for all tuning in. We'll be with you guys Sunday evening. Thanks again, as always.
See you.